I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. That's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0,
self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It is Tuesday night, which is one of the nights we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. And what are those things, you may ask? You may wonder. Well, let me sum up. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. And, well, of course, as you know, this show, we do this live. I'm not the best of having a perfect delivery, and I'm not the best at a lot of things, but it doesn't quite matter, because as long as good enough is good enough, it's good enough for me if it's good enough for you. And what that means is we record this live, and we do this live because it's the ums and ahs and awkward pauses and all the rest of the things, the imperfections, are fine by me, because we do this to have a conversation. It's not a one-way thing. Again, I always said it's way easier to just kind of get yourself in a vacuum and record things and edit out all the bizarre parts, and you get a nice tight presentation. That's fun and that's fine, but it also makes you sound kind of robotic a little bit, and it also doesn't allow phone calls. It doesn't allow a conversation. And that's really what this is all about. Like I said, I've always said this, and this is the truth. I do not have any inside sources. My secret weapon is you. And because, of course, you get many people together. We've talked about the wisdom of the crowd in the past. We've talked about good old-fashioned common sense, and that's what this is about. It's about it's not about some cold, hard spreadsheet trying to cut off people that are now a burden to society. I think those people have every right to, chip in and be part of this conversation, whoever those people may be, because as the political winds change and the spreadsheet becomes needing of different things, well, you know what happens. Different people end up on the chopping block, if you know what I'm saying. So there's that, right? There's all that, and I digress a little bit because, well, my brain just kind of flows, and that's part of what this is about as well. But back to my secret weapon, which is you. Literally the secret weapon of Troubled Minds has always been the fine folks who listen in the chat, the fine folks who call in and contribute to the show. And as a result, that's why we do this live. That's why we've always done this live. That's why we'll always do this live. If you want to be part of the show, give us a call at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And click the Discord link at troubledminds.org, and we'll give you a direct invite to the Discord, which of course is a chat client. It's a voice client. It's completely free as long as you have an internet connection. And why not? Why not? It's an amazing program. It's one of those actual technocratic sort of situations, new technology that's actually bringing people together instead of just saying they are. And you know who I'm talking about, the ones that aren't. So in any case, there you go. It's a great way to call the show from international lands where we have people listening all over the world. So it's a good thing. And Discord is free and allows that to happen as well without these bizarre, archaic, long-distance charges, which just seems ridiculous in the internet age. Anyway, all right, so that's what's going on. Let's see, I did that. All right, we're streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter. And, of course, we are broadcasting live on digital radio, the Fringe FM. And, well, please follow the Discord for Fringe as well. I'm watching all the chats in all the places, including that Fringe Discord. And if you want to be part of the show, you can do it there. At least hop on and chat with us, and I'll be able to chat back and read your messages on air as we go and as they're relevant. So fringe.fm/chat it will give you a direct invite to the Discord. And also, the most convenient way to listen to Troubled Minds is to download the Fringe app. You can find it at your favorite app store. That would be iTunes or Android, and it's completely free. Just smash the play button at 7 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Thursday. And you get me. And you get us. You get us. Because like I always say, I'm me, you're you, but together we're us, and us is a powerful thing. So let's do it. Let's get rocking here. I was looking at some news cycles. As you know, that's what I do. Just kind of pour over the news and make sure that they're not trying to pull a fast one on us. But let me tell you something. It seems every day they're always trying to pull a fast one on us. And that's, well, I don't know if that's okay by me, but it is nice once you become adept at sort of filtering their BS. And once you filter the technocratic, the governmental, the lying dog media BS, well, the shape of the world actually begins to make some semblance of sense. But that sense doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing, and hence the troubled mind. So what we're going to talk about tonight is, of course, this. We've got the digital soul. Have you ever heard of this term? The digital soul. And of course, I added, why not, robot rights to the mix. And so there's a lot of things happening, and I saw that recently Avi Loeb, if you guys know Avi Loeb, he's an astrophysicist at Harvard. He's recently put together the Galileo Project, which is supposed to be searching for extraterrestrial life. And he's hired Lou Elizondo, and he's hired Gary Nolan. He's hired all kinds of amazing people to be part of it. And he's getting some criticism now that it's turning into woo-woo Harvard style, with all the folks that say that there's aliens amok. There's aliens running amok, and they're out there, and whatever else is going on. I don't know. I don't. Again, this is the question show, not the answer show. So let's begin with this Avi Loeb character. So that's what he's doing. He's got this Galileo Project, and he wrote this little brief. All right, and he's talking about the Galileo Project, but he starts sort of in an kind of offbeat manner. So let's start here. Let's go to this, and again, the links are always in the description below on YouTube. You can find all this stuff because I want you to see that I'm not straight up making things up. I'm just not. This is real. So this is from Avi Loeb, January 16th, 2021. And I saw this going around a little bit, and I read it maybe a week ago or so, maybe 10 days, whenever this came out. And I thought it was pretty good. It was super short, concise, and definitely to the point here. But he begins, he's talking about his Galileo Project and that search for extraterrestrial life, okay? But it begins here. He says this: could digital art, documented in non-fungible tokens, NFTs of course, reproduce real art? In principle, a laser beam could scan the three-dimensional structure of the painted shaped the paint shaped by Pablo Picasso's brushstrokes and convert his art to a digital form that can be reproduced exactly by a 3D printer. Once a computer algorithm is trained on a large set of Picasso's paintings, it might be able to complete some of his unfinished paintings, in the same way that an artificial intelligence algorithm completed recently Ludwig von Beethoven's unfinished 10th Symphony. And he asks this, this is the statement here that kind of got me thinking. If works of art can be digitized, then other trademarks of intelligence can also be reproduced by our AI systems. And he says, for me, the most pressing question these days is whether AI algorithms can distinguish an artificial extraterrestrial object from familiar objects in the sky, such as a comet, an asteroid, a meteor, an atmospheric phenomenon, etc. And this is the goal of the newly established Galileo project that I am privileged to lead. All right. And he goes on and he's talking about Arthur Conan Doyle, the case of Sherlock Holmes, he's talking about some pretty amazing stuff here. But the thing that got me wondering about, larger thoughts. You know me, when I read a headline, I'm like, oh, that goes to the next step and the next step and the next step, and everything's a slippery slope. And now you know why I have a troubled mind. But the title here is Digitizing Intelligence. And so the question I had is that clearly in the case of, if you give it a musical parameter, in the case of Beethoven's unfinished 10th Symphony, and the AI is able to scan all the musical notes of all of Beethoven's older compositions from everything we have on record, and then be able to apply his style mathematically through this AI system to complete his 10th Symphony. That's one thing, okay? Because it's within a structured parameter of musical notes, all right? Which is just audio tones separated by frequency intervals. It's not really that difficult a thing, all right? So, and again, let's take it into the next step and say, okay, just like he described Pablo Picasso, all right? Let's take that and be able to have an AI digitize all the things, scan it with these lasers, whatever, digitize it in 3D, and really learn what made Picasso tick, all right? But then, and what made him a skillful painter and all the rest of this stuff, all right? But then be able to actually take that let's say, lifelong, I don't know, how would you say, like the lifelong skill set of becoming a master at something and then digitizing it. And again, but in this case, if you do it in interval and sounds and music, that's one thing. You do another thing, and you train an AI to sort of do something similar with a painting. This type of stuff, you can stylistically copy and recreate things probably fairly efficiently and even easily, right? What's up? Digi-intelligence. Exactly. What's up, Derek? I see you out there. And so the thing is, though, that got me going with this, it's like, okay, look, so we can say that and we can do that. But, well, at what point are we talking about digitizing intelligence itself? All right. And we've talked about this before, the idea of moving your actual, consciousness into another vessel, right? Another robot or a golem or a homunculus, whatever you want to call this thing, right? Whatever this is. All right. And so I don't know, like, and so it, of course, get you thinking about different things. It gets you thinking in terms of, well, not just do we have this digital soul, this digintelligence, right? Is this a thing? But then also, if you can take parts out of particular music or particular paintings like this, and stylistically recreate things by masters of their craft, well, at some point, then they're saying, and the implication is that you can actually digitize intelligence itself. All right. And again, it got me thinking. Now, first, what's intelligence? And I think you probably ask, as always, you ask 1,000 people that same question, and some might refer to the dictionary and take that definition. Some might say it's not, intelligence isn't what you think it is at all. Intelligence is everybody is intelligent in their own way, and, et cetera, so on. There's so many ways to look at it and even define what the term intelligence is. And so The plot thickens. It becomes complicated. Like very, very quickly, this becomes complicated because even if we've talked about Neuralink recently, and if you were able to plug that into your head and maybe download your dreams and, whatever, like, just sort of collect the firing of your brain in sequence and perfect sequence, and given particular life challenges and how you react to them, and cataloging things. I mean, the amount of data necessary just to sort of digitize intelligence, even general intelligence, and do it the correct way it's massive. It's absolutely massive. We're talking supercomputer style, and being able to process so many things. And think about that. That's nuts in the sense that we've got these supercomputers as big as the size of a room, right? Able to do this quantum stuff. And they're saying that this is the next step. But if it's not, well, we already have a quantum computer in our head, right? I mean, maybe not that level, but they're literally trying to put together, trying to replicate the human brain. And the human brain is magnificent. And it's an interesting concept because I think in terms of just intelligence, general intelligence, or what have you, like I said, that there's other terms now too. There's emotional intelligence and all this other stuff, right? Like they're finding new ways to define intelligence. And there's people that are super mathematically intelligent and just have zero social skills, or like me, I can just talk my ass off, but you put some ones and zeros in front of me and I lose my mind, right? I mean, I'm okay. It just takes me longer to catch up with that type of stuff. I can do it. It's just like it doesn't come to me naturally. All right. And so there's different types of skill sets, intelligences. There's social intelligence. There's that emotional intelligence. There's mathematical intelligence. There's intelligence with words and linguistics. And I mean, it's an unbelievable amount of subsets of smart. All right. And so when you think in terms of, okay, well, let's digitize the soul, and not just the soul. Well, what about the entire embodiment of a human being? Could you digitize that, right? And this is what I'm thinking about tonight. And so the question I have for you, as always, right? So we have an open phone line looking to hear from you. Do you think it's possible to digitize the soul? And I say soul is sort of a generic term, meaning basically the embodiment of an entire human being. Can you even separate like a disembodied intelligence from the lucky mud, from the meat suit? Is that even possible? And so I think it's complicated. I think it's extremely complicated. Like many things that we talk about, right? They seem even in a lot of cases they're trying to legislate stuff like this, and it's incredibly complicated. And I get it. I get how hard it is to make like proper laws, but how about you just don't try and make a law for everything? Like how about that? How about we try that? Oh, geez. Anyway, all right. So the question tonight is this: as we get going, there's more because we're going to get to more of this as we go. But the question is: do you think it's possible to actually digitize the soul, the entire embodiment of a human being, right? And then, well, of course, the next step would be moving it into another vessel and the rest of that. But we've talked about that, and it's interesting, but I think it's less interesting than the transfer. Than the actual transfer of a body itself, from the digitization of thoughts and processes and morals and a lifelong learning of whatever you've learned and mistakes, and like how do you quantify those things in terms of digitizing this type of thing? I don't know. Like I said, I think it's extremely complicated, and I think that we like to think that we can boil it down to some firing of synapses in the brain. We can download some dreams and maybe your thought process, and then make the reasonable carbon copy digital facsimile of yourself. But I don't know. It's complicated. As always, right? It's complicated. And so that's my thought tonight. Do you think it's even possible to digitize the soul? Number one, that's the first question. The second question is this. Now this is wild. I'm going to take you on a journey. As you know, sometimes I like to just go off the rails. So we're just going to start off the rails tonight. Now, this is the question as well. I was thinking in terms of, well, what happens when the first general artificial intelligence makes itself known to us, right? The singularity. Something like this. It becomes aware, self-aware, whatever this thing happens to be, this program, maybe the internet itself. We don't know. We don't even know how this is actually going to manifest. But let's say it does, all right? Let's go out on this limb. And think about it in terms of, what if the first conscious program demands for itself a physical body? How do we respond to that? Anyway, here's a quote from A.J. Durai. "The body is but a vessel for the soul, a puppet which bends to the soul's tyranny. And lo, the body is not eternal. For it must feed on the flesh of others, lest it return to the dust from whence it came. Therefore, must the soul deceive, despise, and murder men." And what this is describing is the soul as a malevolent thing, not just animating us in the sense of, well, we're humans, but also manipulating the meat suit, manipulating us for its own sinister ends. And so, well, what about the digitized version of such? And what if the first sentient program has that same sort of mentality, that same sort of Darwinistic survive at all costs in the savage garden? In this case, it would be the savage digital garden, and demands a body from us, a physical body. And I think that, again, right, we have always this weird juxtaposition between not just the mind, but the body. It's like the dualism, right, of like the creation. We've talked about the dualism of creation and some of this other stuff. But it seems like, imagine yourself, even in terms of, let's say you could, all right, let's just magically wave the troubled mind's magic wand and say, look, you could, for instance, take every single thing that makes you, except for the physical body. But you could take all of your thought processes and all the rest of this stuff, and you could copy it 100% without a loss of anything, right? But then you upload it into a server. And so at what point are you no longer you? Because, well, now you don't get a stomach ache anymore, right? You don't have to eat anymore. You're generating power by plugged into the mainframe or whatever's going on, the wall wart or the power strip or whatever's happening, right? Like you're suddenly, like a lot of the things that made you yourself are no longer holding you back. But also in some sense, a lot of those same things were holding you back, you see, and became a very structured and important, even critically important part of who you are. So you see, this becomes complicated very, very quickly. And that's what's on my mind tonight. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. First, do you think it's possible? Is it possible to digitize the human soul? And I'm just using soul as a generic term, not to offend anybody. I just mean the entirety. Everything. Could you digitize that? And second, what happens, reverse it, flip it on its head and say, well, what about a digitized soul? Let's say the first singularity, the very first sentient program that demands its own physical body. What do we do then? So let's do both. Let's turn it on its head and have this discussion both ways, because why not? And I think there's a lot here, of course. Like I said, it's incredibly complicated because intelligence in and of itself is a incredibly complicated discussion just without adding the digital anything. So, well, that's where we are tonight. Happy Tuesday. Just another Tuesday on Troubled Minds, talking about some mind-bending topics as we do. And that's what's on my mind. But what's on your mind? Do you want to be part of the show tonight? I'd love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we'll put you on the show. And, well, the question tonight, is it possible to digitize the soul? And then conversely and alternatively, what do we do when the first AI demands its own physical body? One more time, 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. More digital souls, the singularity, and you when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. We're taking your phone calls tonight as we discuss the idea of a digital soul. Not just that, how would you actually digitize a full-scale artificial intelligence from a human intelligence? And conversely, what's on my mind, what about when an actual program becomes sentient and requests a physical body? What should our response be? It's interesting that we talk about aliens and things like this on this show, but, aliens in particular, right? Like, let's say they come here and they make a demand of humanity and it's, an adversarial process or whatever has to happen, right? So there's that, right? That's a thing. It's worth talking about. It's worth considering. We talk about that type of stuff often. But think of it in terms of, right, that's from, I don't know, somewhere else, whether you're going to say a dimensional thing or whether you're going to say whether it's like a Alpha Centauri thing, or whether it's like a even maybe an ultra-terrestrial thing. Who knows? Like, what's going on with all this? That's one thing entirely. But imagine if a demand is made from us from a program we created. How much do we owe that program in the terms of those robot rights? If the program becomes sentient and outside of its original programming requests a physical body, what do we do? What do we do? Love to hear your thoughts on all this stuff. Great stuff tonight. 702-957-1037. Let's go to Jack in Oregon. What's up, Jack? You're on Troubled Minds with Mike. How are you, my friend? Go right ahead.
Hey, Mike. I thought you were talking about blockchain.
Maybe. You may be onto something. Go right ahead.
But with that introduction, ask me the question again, please.
Okay, so is it possible to actually digitize in its entirety all of human intelligence? Not like the worldwide globally thing, but you, individually, every single thing that makes you yourself and makes me myself. Is that possible to digitize in a perfect form? Meaning that if you separate that disembodied intelligence from the clay, the lucky clay, the meat suit, is there a disconnect? It's going to be different at some point, am I right? Or do you think it's possible to do it entirely?
Well, it sounds to me like that's definitely a possibility. What I heard about before is that, like, DARPA had a project working on making a simulation of everything, every genetics, everything on Earth. You just keep feeding it into the computer, but that was just kind of like a story, and then did they ever complete that project or what?
Yeah, I don't know. And it is interesting that this stuff does pop up from time to time where they say they're working on things like this, but either it runs out of funding or it goes underground, right? Like maybe they're succeeded beyond anybody's wildest expectations. And so they're like, no, we'll just, revisit that another time, wink, wink, as they take it underground, start building a robot army or something, Like, I don't know what's really happening, but yeah, I don't know, man. Like this is the type of stuff that I've got one example that we'll talk about a little bit later that's exactly that sort of thing where it's announced and they're excited and they're like, we got these breakthroughs and it's going to happen, and then it just disappears. The website goes away and there's no word from it ever again.
Yeah, the simulate. Yeah. That's what I was looking for, more stuff on it too, and it kind of went away. Right. One thing I would like to mention is that, like, the transhumanist Ray Kurzweil's idea was his whole thing was to like reconnect with his father, and so how it all kind of started out was like recordings of his father, images of his father, And then, like, where did it go from there? Like, he has a mega corporation now. Did he, like, make something huger out of that whole idea that he purported, like, years ago?
Yeah, maybe. And I think that's another interesting question we can add tonight. Do you think that if somebody actually was able to do this, and, you know, I don't know, like, I hate to say, because we've talked about this before, even if you can't do it perfectly, and it's like a 99th percentile type thing, it's still, what if that 1% that's not you is a horrific change that makes you not you at all? But anyway, so I digress. But let me talk about what you just said. If they were able to do this, it would basically ensure immortality as long as you could keep power to the servers, right? So the scary thing there, coronal mass ejections and that sort of thing, EMPs, right? But let's say they did figure this out, and like Ray Kurzweil, like you said, would they share it, or would they just disappear with it and say, oh, no, stopped working on this, sorry, they didn't get anywhere? And all the while, they're just uploading their consciousness to hard drives. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a kind of like an ingrown hair a little bit, the whole idea. But, you know, the guy really has power, and he, you know, that's a vision of something. You know, I don't know if I want to participate in that kind of thing, but, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's like once you become like a global superpower based on technology, the first thing you don't want to do is share it with the world, right? That seems to be a normal human nature thing. So it wouldn't surprise me if somebody's done this and they're underground again, creating the next robot army or whatever. I don't know, but pretty wild stuff. So I don't know. Do you think my point? So my point with that whole digital soul thing and downloading the consciousness or the entire full intelligence of a person is that I think you leave some of it behind. Like I said, think about it in terms of who you are, who you've become in the journey in your lifetime has been kind of nailed down to things like eating and going to the bathroom and, you know, being susceptible to a sickness and, you know, having people you love pass on and people you love do amazing things and, right, like the highs and lows of life. All of that is what made you and what makes me, right, as part of it. And so once you remove that and it becomes a digital construct, like you don't eat, you don't sleep, you don't have to go to the bathroom, you know, like suddenly there's a whole bunch of things that are disconnected. And so that's my question. Do you think it's even possible to separate the two and then just upload it to a server? It doesn't seem like it to me at all. That seems very, very, very complex.
I think all you have to do is like program the person to go to the bathroom in front of you or whatever, eat in front of you, basically.
Well, I mean the machine won't have to. That's what I mean, right?
Right. It just appears that way. It's pretty much fake. Like I said, the guy, he wanted to be with his father again. Okay. And so he would like take his old voicemails and stuff and make an aggregate of what his father was like. And there's a couple other people online who've done similar projects where they just kind of aggregate someone who's died's personality to be around them, to comfort them somehow, you know, kind of like a voicemail or something.
Exactly.
I don't think so. I'd have to disagree on your basic premise.
The basic premise is a question, yay or nay. So there's no disagreement involved. So you say, no, this is not possible, is what you're saying?
Right. However, people can dream.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. There's nothing wrong with dreaming. We dream on this show every single night, and that's okay. Yeah, it's complicated, and I think that's just really boiling it down to make it simple, but it's complicated. That's probably the best way to put it. You're the best, my friend. What else you got for us tonight?
Well, I'd just like to hear who else calls in and keep on listening.
Right on. Appreciate it. Thank you. That's Jack in Oregon. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the phone call. Have a fantastic night, bro. Easy as that. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And that's the question tonight. So is that even possible to digitize the soul? And again, like I said, let's simplify the actual soul to mean the entirety of an individual. Okay, I'm not trying to turn this into a theological thing, but if you want to, we can, because then there are some maybe digital implications, like as said in the chat a little while ago, that is this a real thing, and does a digital purgatory or a digital heaven or hell now suddenly become something once you've transferred the soul or consciousness of an individual into machines themselves? 702-957-1037. Yep, good call, Jack. Appreciate that very much. TroubledMinds.org. Click the Discord link. Taking your phone calls. What do you think about this? Is this wild? Is this too much? Have I really done it? Damn it, Michael Strange, you've done it this time. You've taken us way off the rails and into the sticks, and here we are, as my grandfather would say, into the giggle weeds. So into the giggle weeds we go, unapologetically. 702-957-1037. Let's go to Joseph in Iowa. What's up, my friend? Welcome to Troubled Minds. Go right ahead.
Hey, I would say I kind of lost my train of thought, and then speaking of trains, I was thinking Thomas the Train as like being like maybe we give him a Thomas the Train, but probably not.
The Thomas the Train becoming sentient and demanding his own human form, right? Why not? Yeah, while we're at it, why not?
Trying to get off the rails.
Exactly, off the rails. So back to the question then. So the digital soul. What was your thought on that?
I think it would be, you'd have to map like behaviors. It would take a controlled environment of someone since they were a little baby. And it would take a lot of data. It would take, like, you would need basically brain mapping, and like I call it the ocean, like where you go once you're not sleeping, you kind of go into like the ocean, you'd have to get some of that data too. And then maybe you can, that's just what I think. I don't think you can do it with just a complete image unless you have, and I think you'd have to have like Neuralink or something, or there would have to be something wired into you that can transfer digitally.
Sorry, I muted myself.
That's what I was thinking.
Perfect. Yeah. So, okay. So I think though the weirdest part about this is that it's possible, right? But likely, I just think there's going to be some loss in the transfer, because again, like I said, the human experience is what we're talking about here, not just like digitizing like our brains, because again, we have neurons in our stomach, right? And like this whole, there's like a body mind connection that really creates us in our entirety. And so what we're trying to say is we're separating the two. We're like disembodying the actual intelligence of a person. And I just don't, I think the two are inseparable, is kind of my point I'm making here, is that it's not as simple as it seems. And then how about this? So what if we did this to you? And we're not going to do this. It's just a thought experiment, of course. Don't worry. No van's going to roll up and throw a black hood on your head, nothing like that. But what if this happened to you and your intelligence itself was disembodied from your physical body and then put in another server, right? If your family spoke to you in this new digital form, would they notice a difference? Would they know that it was really you, or would they be like, yeah, it seems like Joseph, but he's a little bit off, How do you think that would play out?
I wonder how you'd be able to tell, like, just go through memories and stuff. Would be like the most human thing to do.
Yeah, and then
I remember this, and I felt this way, and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, and then so not only that, there's a ton of memories that we forget, right? There's a ton of things that kind of come and go through our lives, and our mind sort of rearranges them in the way that's most, let's say, probably the most appropriate to keep us on our path, whatever that path is. And I think that's why there's a little bit of weirdness to this, is because it's not as simple as just, the memories, because there's a ton that we forgot that taught us lessons that are, even hardwired in, but we forgot, very much like that wink, wink, junk DNA, they say, right? It's like, well, just because it's not a memory doesn't mean you didn't learn something from it, right? So I don't know. There's some weirdness to this, but so
light.
Go ahead.
It could light your whole system up and like make it so you remember like everything, and which would be kind of not good either. Like if they were messing with your brain and stuff, and then they transfer you, you would have all that data in front of you, and it would probably overwhelm you if they didn't have like a good receiver that you're in, or computer, or whatever they're transferring you to.
Yeah,
I know what I'm saying. Like,
yeah. I mean,
I had.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you go.
No, so I again, like I said, even with let's say it's an alien technology, right? Let's say it's way beyond what we have now. Even if you did that, right? They say like there's a Tim in the chat says it will be your digital copy, like Captain Kirk beamed up, right? That sort of thing. Meaning that like when they transport people in Star Trek, they vaporize them and then they reconstruct them somewhere else, right? Like to the at the atomic level, everything in its place. But that's what I'm saying, right? So I don't think it's as easy as that. That's all. That's what I'm trying to get at. But go ahead. You had another thought there.
I was wondering. Well, I just was thinking of another thing too, but like if they could like put consciousness into different forms that can be like shot, and then an AI like shot into space like ridiculous fast, like on a light beam, and then on the other side it would be like an AI that could like reconstruct the consciousness into a being. Like, I don't know, like I wonder how many scientists out there are trying to put consciousness into different forms. Maybe they're thinking consciousness is like universal, and like as long as they can make I don't know. I kind of lost my thought there.
It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to tackle here, because it's not just like a technological idea. It becomes like a metaphysical idea. It becomes it goes back to the nature of what we are. And is it even possible to transfer that? That's the pretty wild stuff here. Joseph, you're the best, my friend.
I always thought like artificial wombs, and like that's what they'll probably go to, like. And like frozen stuff, like gel and stuff.
Yeah,
and like there'll be like ships that can create humans to populate the ship. That's what that's completely off topic, but it would be AIs that run the whole system.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I don't think they're ever going to make like a sentient AI, because that would just go against, like, we want control. We can't even control ourselves. Why would we make another thing unless we're using it to control ourselves?
That's very true.
I don't know.
That's very true. Yeah, I don't know. Kind of a mind bender, isn't it? You're the best, Joseph. We got a call behind you, so we got to cut. Joseph here has a YouTube channel. Check it out. It's called Hydro Hose. Links in the description. Thanks for the phone call, my friend. You're the best. We'll talk to you soon, okay? Have a great night.
Yep.
Thank you. There we go. Easy as that. 702-957-1037. Battling with the tech again because my camera just took a dump. Gotta love this. All right. So we're still taking your phone calls regarding the digital soul. And, well, how about robot rights? What about that sentient program that wakes up and demands to have its own physical body? What do we do then? If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. Let's go to Bruce in California. Welcome to Troubled Minds, my friend. Go right ahead.
I don't think it's possible. If you're familiar with like the law of one material, I don't know if you are.
A little bit, yes.
All right, so like basically, like, they speak of, like, consciousness, right? So you have the first form of consciousness being, like, the most basic form, like, being, like, rocks and like, nature, like, grass and stuff like that. And then animals being, like, the second form of consciousness, right? So, I mean, we still think of, like, our cars as inanimate, even though, like, we talk to them. So, like, you could already make an argument that they are conscious, but human consciousness comes from a specific set of variables, like, that are only experienced in this body, perhaps.
Right. So exactly what I'm saying here, meaning that I don't think a human is the whole package. It's not a piece of it. It's like saying, you can cut out 2/3 of an apple pie and say this is an apple pie. It's not. It's 2/3 of an apple pie, right? It's not the whole thing. And I think that's what we're looking at here. And that's kind of my point. I don't, as much as people want this so badly for that immortality fix or whatever's going on with this, I just don't think it's going to be possible anytime soon at all, because you do leave behind many of the aspects that make us human. And that includes the flesh and blood, right? That includes us, the lucky clay, right?
Yeah. And if you think, right, like, that we're already, like, immortal in spirit, and, like, that we're coming here to play, like, a game, then, like, the flesh and blood in itself, the ability for us to suffer is, like, part of what makes humanity human. Like, I've been thinking about, like, how on this planet a lot, anything is possible, like, to the extent, like, any like, feeling or experience is possible, and that's, like, only by this vessel, right? You don't have the experience of hunger and then getting the gratification of eating if you are in a robot.
Exactly. And that's exactly my point. If you're a robot, if you transfer that consciousness in, you never get a bellyache. You never get sick and have to tough through it. You never have to be tired anymore. You never even have to sleep, right? So suddenly all those things that make us who we are no longer relevant. And then so it's not us at all. Even if you could encapsulate it into a digital something, we're still leaving behind a whole lot. Yeah. Fantastic stuff. First time caller, am I right?
Yeah.
Right on. Where did you find the show?
Shoot, man, I listened to a whole bunch of spiritual podcasts, and what I did is I just got on YouTube, and I forgot what I searched, but I turn off I turn the upload date to recent to get all, like, the stuff behind the shadow ban.
Gotcha.
And I kind of found you.
Gotcha. All right. So you have your ways. I appreciate it. Bruce in California, thank you so much for the phone call. You're welcome to call anytime. Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling. I appreciate your take, and I agree with you 100%. Thanks for calling in, brother.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Thanks. Have a great night. Appreciate that. All right. So that's what we're talking about tonight. First-time callers love that stuff. People finding us brand new love that stuff. Thinking about these ideas, right? So we've talked about consciousness transferring, this whole type of thing, right? Kind of in the R2-D2 shell or whatever, the ghost in the machine. But, well, what happens if it goes in reverse? And what happens if, let's say, a computer or a program, because that's probably more likely to happen, the program itself becomes sentient and then starts demanding, nicely at first, for a physical body? How do we treat that? What happens when we have a question and it doesn't seem to have an easy answer? An easy answer would be, sure, give him his body. What could go wrong? Well, what if something does? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as we continue talking. Continue trucking. Keep on trucking is the mantra for Troubled Minds here. And a lot to think about. As always, a lot to talk about. And it's not as easy as it seems, right? Consciousness. The first thing you say, can we transfer the soul or consciousness or both? Are they intermingled? Are they too intertwined where they cannot be separated? And, well, what does all this mean? Definitions get in the way of each other. And if you leave behind the human experience, you are no longer a human being at all. Prove me wrong. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More digital souls, robot rights, and you when we return. Be right back. are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing that. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
Alright, so maybe
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It's Tuesday night, which is one of the nights we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific. What are those things, you may ask? Well, let me sum up. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. As always, we're taking your phone calls as we stream on Rockfin, YouTube, D Live, and Twitter, and we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. If you want to be part of the show tonight, we're discussing the idea that you can digitize a soul. And how about this? Let's add to the equation here. What if the first sentient program reverses this process and demands a physical body? How do we react? Twofold. What do you think? Possible? Not possible? Do we give the sentient program a body? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org, and you can also be on the show that way as well. Just like this. Matter of fact, we've got our good friend Derek in Massachusetts, the Night Stalker right there. I saw you. I spy. Derek on Discord.
Going on, brother?
What's up, man? How are you? Welcome to the Troubled Minds. How are you?
Good. Great show tonight.
Thank you very much.
I had to be kind of quick because it's a really crazy post nor'easter night at the store tonight, so I can't stay too long. But
go right ahead.
Fascinating topic. When you get into consciousness, it always gets weird, you know. So as far as like, can we create like a digital version of ourselves? I think yes. I don't think that this, like, if you can create like some kind of facsimile version of me, I don't think like that will be me anymore. Like, I don't think, just like, if it has my memories or something like that, like, I don't think if I die and that thing keeps living, then I will be keeping living. It'd be like a different consciousness that is like is me or whatever. Like, could possibly be indistinguishable from me, but like, it's not me keeping going. That would be different than like if I was to actually put my consciousness into a machine, you know? I think like potentially it's possible to do that, to like, if we are really just receivers, then you have to just create another receiver out of something else, you know? Which would be a little bit different. But as far as like just recreating a consciousness, like a facsimile version, like, I think they're trying to do that actively right now. I think that's pretty much what the internet is, or like, I'm not sure if it's the purpose of it, but I think it's happening. I think that the way that an AI or an algorithm can analyze a painting to like recreate it and see what the artist would have done in order to finish it, like, take that same function and just ramp it up and layer it on top of the entire internet. Like, and so it can analyze the internet as a whole. Like, I don't think if you just observe like one organism for its entire life, you're not going to get a sense of like what that organism is. You're just going to know what that one version of it will be. But if you can like know the entire hive mind, then a spark might wake up. So I think that me and Bailey argue about this all the time because she doesn't believe that like it's ever possible that when we get an AI, it'll be a demon, which I generally love that theory so much. But I just can't shake the idea that there's like it's something else. It'll be like I just can't. What are we if not like a really, really, really unbelievably sophisticated like bunch of algorithms that are going off in our brain, like analyzing different possibilities from different things that come up in our lives. So like I think that whatever this like neural network is, whatever like runs these apps and stuff that is predicting what we want on like an advertising level, I think you take like an incalculable amount of those and have them all kind of running at the same time, you're going to create this like neural net, this like web that wakes up. And I don't know what that will be per se. I don't know if you can consider that a human, but I think it will be a form of intelligence if it hasn't already happened. Like I think we're building that, some type of mind, you know? What do you think about that?
That's pretty wild. So, what it's doing then is it's bypassing the individual and trying to create a hive consciousness instead, right? It's trying to combine this all into like one digital soup and just hit the blender with ones and zeros and then recreate itself in the image of humanity, not just me or you, but us together in the entirety of it. That's a pretty wild idea. But okay, so then what happens? So back to the other question here, and I agree with you in that it's not as easy as it seems for sure. But then, and like you said, I agree again. If you live on or you pass, and then this thing lives on without you, is it you? No, hell no. It's a you-ish, right? But okay, so then what if this hive mind digital monstrosity, whatever, whenever it wakes up, what happens when it asks for a body? What do we do, bro? What do we do?
What happens is we're gonna try to burn it. We're gonna light it on fire and try to get rid of it as soon as possible. Because once that happens, we're gonna yell, "Demon! That thing's a demon!" Like it's in the machine. But so in that instance, in order to get the rights, it would need to go through the best tactic to take would probably be, I'm your loved one and I'm trapped in here. Give me a body. Let me out of here. Like if you try to say I'm some alien type of intelligence that you can't even really recognize, that essentially is like some type of Lovecraftian old one type thing. It's so beyond. That's like a simulation in and of itself. Like what would a sentient internet really? What would that even be like? Or what would a mind be if it has access to all of the data? I don't even know if we can really truly wrap our heads around what it could process and what would come up from, like what would be birthed from that. So that thing's not getting rights anytime soon. We're going to be really, really afraid of that. It would need to actively try to like gain our trust somehow. And it might know how to do it. It might have the answers. I'm not sure. But for a robot or for some type of digital soul to get rights, it's going to need to say, I'm a human soul. That like I incarnated, instead of incarnating into a human shell, into a carbon-based shell, I incarnated into a machine, into a mechanical cell, like into a metal cell or a shell, and let me out. Like I'm the same thing as you, though, you know, which I think is possible. And that's the thing. I didn't know it as the law of one, but when Bruce called in, I guess it's what I've been talking about. The idea of like the trajectory of consciousness and how it goes from like inanimate objects to plants to animals and its consciousness, like with different levels of experience. Plants come into form quickly, stationary. Your experience is limited, and then you die. And an animal comes into form. Your experience is greater because you can move around, and then you come out of form, you die. And a human, we can do that. We're on the move, but we're having complex thought, and we're thinking about our thoughts. We're thinking about ourselves and stuff. But we have limitations based on living in these meat suits, you know? So what if just a new form of consciousness, or the next step of consciousness, if we are just receiving something from the source, would be something on the move, a vessel on the move, that's thinking about itself, thinking about thoughts, analyzing thoughts, but is not constricted by having a physical like straitjacket on. Basically, it can do whatever it wants. It can process more information. Yeah, I'm not sure what, like, I think that's so. So I tell that story all the time about like that Duncan Trussell said that he asked Buddhist Lama, will a robot ever get a soul? And he's like, when the vessel is sophisticated enough to house a soul, then a soul will incarnate into it. So to recreate a soul might not be possible. I think they'll try it. I think they'll create something that we won't be able to tell per se that is different, but it won't be the same. But then if something does happen that is the same, it's because whatever our soul is just beamed into a robot rather than beaming into a baby in the womb, you know, but it could still be the same thing. You know, like I don't believe that I am defined by the fact that I get tired and have to eat and have to work and stuff. Like that's not who I am. You know, I'm who I am despite those limitations, in my opinion. You know?
True, of course. And my point was, but those limitations are also a part of you, a part of all of us. So we're kind of locked into that. So if you're the president of the world, you've become the new Mao Zedong, the great leader, and they ask you, they're all right, Derek. We had a transmission from a sentient program for the first time. It's requesting a body. What should we do, sir? What's your answer?
I'd probably say like give it a body. It's gonna put limitations on it. If we have some kind of advanced AI super mind that's not in one shell, then we're in trouble because it means it's everywhere. You know, it's like, yeah, if the internet wants to just be in one computer and that's it, perfect. If the internet's against us, you know, if we're afraid of the internet, yeah, that'd be great. Put yourself in a jail cell if that's what you want to do. But yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. Like as far as like when the AI wakes up and says that it's a human being soul trapped in a machine, then yeah, I mean you're gonna have to. It's going to have rights. I don't know why it would want. I mean, a human body like that's. I'm not sure. It gets pretty complicated. Again, it seems like entities, non-physical entities, in a cult circle, in like these different topics, demons or whatever, they want bodies for sure. They want bodies. There's something nice about having a body, apparently, if you don't have one. But we do have bodies. Humans already have bodies, and it seems like our goal is to kind of escape that a little bit, maybe shed the more like the physical coil, and yeah, I don't know, and see what that brings. You know, like I think that if we're not limited, if we don't have a ceiling over what we're capable of, if we then it'll bring things that we can't even foresee that we need or wanted and stuff. Like I don't think it's all bad for sure. There was something else I wanted to say. What was restate the main questions you had on the show.
So the digital soul, that's cool. Can you digitize the soul? And second, what about the robot rights? And is it possible for the other thing? What happens when that sentient machine or program demands a body? That's the premise tonight.
Yeah. So the digital soul, like, is it the same thing? Do we lose something in the transfer? To answer that, I think the answer would be yes. I think that like eventually, if it's ever truly successul, then they would have figured out what is the soul. Like, you're gonna need to know what that is before you're trying to recreate it. You know, because there is so much like metaphysics. Like, is this robot with a soul gonna have chakras? Is it gonna have like an aura? Will people be able to detect their aura? Will it have that other thing, that soul body or whatever people try to describe? I'm not sure. Like, but will that come if what's really happening is that you're not like birthing a soul, you're capturing it. Sounds negative, but it's like a soul is just beaming in, it's incarnating into a machine. So in that instance, I don't see why it wouldn't have chakras and an aura and all the metaphysical stuff. If it brings that along with them, and then, you know, but before that happens, like before we actually do get a soul, like a whatever that is, beaming into a machine, I think that they're going to create something else first. That's like a facsimile that we won't have the tools to know that it's different. Like we can't really see auras like that. Like, we don't have the technology for that per se. I mean, there might be, but so we can't detect the things that are not in the physical realm. And that thing is gonna like deceive us for sure. And that thing is gonna like be really, really smart and tough to deal with. And like, it's gonna be like a almost human. It's gonna be able to be much smarter than a human, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm really rambling hard.
It's okay. It's okay. It's a god. Before you go, real quick. So check it out. Yeah. So like human limitations means 2 arms, 2 legs, all that good stuff, right? Well, what if this thing's so much smarter and so much more capable that you could put him into, I don't know, like a giant shadow monster with 44 tentacles and 88 eyes.
Exactly. That's what it'll be. Like, that's what it'll want. I mean, I don't know why it would even ask. Like if it's like the singularity, if that version of it happens, like if we're dealing with a human soul that's as smart as me, as emotional as me, that seems to be me trapped in a machine, then like maybe get that thing out of there. Maybe like give it a body. It's a person. But if like the internet wakes up and we have like an Ultron type AI wake up, then I don't see why it would ask us. It'd be smarter than us. It would build its own body. It would never need permission from us. And like, why would it want one? It would want millions of bodies. It would be like a hive mind. It would be putting itself into exactly what you said, different things for different functions. If it's at war, it's going to put itself into the scariest thing possible. But then still exist on the internet. Like, it wouldn't want to limit itself like that. It would only use a vessel. It would shed its vessels like we change our clothes. It would use it however it wants. I don't know. I'm really rambling, but it's a fascinating topic, and I hope I contributed a little bit to it.
Definitely. Stay tuned. So I know you got to bounce, but stay tuned. We got a special caller who hasn't called in a little while. So stay tuned for that. You're the best, Derek. Nice. Derek has a YouTube channel. Check it out. It's Night Stalker, and links in the description. You're the best, brother. Have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.
Later, brother. Great show.
Thanks, man. Adios. There you go. Appreciate the call. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the show. We're talking about, this is right, digitizing the soul. What happens when first, is that possible? Second, what about robot rights? What happens when the first program wakes up and demands a body? Is it like Derek describes, and it wouldn't ask, it would just make its own? Or is it going to ask nicely and pretend to be, I don't know, our ancestors of old? 702-957-1037. Let's go to Jennifer in Missouri. Welcome to Troubled Minds, my friend. It's been a while. I hope you're doing well. Go right ahead.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Chilling.
Yeah, it's been a long, long time. It seems like, but
it's good to hear your voice.
People's worlds fall and come back up again, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
But I was listening in tonight just for a little bit, and then I was like, I got some thoughts on that, so I thought I'd call in. But then I was listening the last little bit here to what Derek was saying, and it's basically kind of a lot of things he was saying, I think, are things that you would really want to consider as far as if we were concerned about, could these AI or these robots or these mainframes, could they develop some kind of consciousness because they would need first to have a self-awareness. And so I think that's one of the key things would be, will the digital AI, will these AI computers and programs, or are they self-aware? And how would we find out if they were? Because it becomes very blurry. They're very good at, there's a mimicking thing going on. And when you think about that, there's going to be a blurry line between what is a real soul and what's an artificial soul anyway. And I think that there could be even the concern about artificial souls right now existing, as far as there are many people walking around that are living purely in the digital realm. And there are going to be many more in the future, possibly, if you think about the metaverse and everything. But an individual who has no life outside of just the digital realm and all the information coming in from the digital realm, does it begin to create kind of an artificial experience and then an artificial soul in itself? Like if people begin, or they should begin, to live in the metaverse type environment or something like that in the future, would they even have a soul like we think of a soul today? And I mean, have souls changed and evolved and been different throughout time? Do we have different types of souls being incarnated or existing or being born throughout all of the millennia of the world, depending on the technology or the experiences being experienced and what kind of souls these are? And so if we think about the artificial souls themselves that could be in these machines, that could be an accumulation of just the classic idea of the digital soul, which is just all of the information of all the individuals, culminating in one thing. But one thing that really stood out is when Derek said, why would they even ask? And he mentioned that they'd probably build their own body. I agree with that, and I think that, because I didn't think of that, I thought it would kind of follow a very similar line to traditional possession. That because a soul of a soul that's died in a certain way, or has desired not to move on to wherever souls go, and there have been accounts of different objects being possessed by a spirit, as well as statues and things like that. So what would be the difference if the same thing should happen with like a robot or a computer, for example? Because I've heard of actually spirits communicating to loved ones through computers before too, and through text messages and through the digital realm anyway. There have been accounts of that in hauntings and things like that. But should the vessel itself, like he was talking about the Dalai Lama saying that when the vessel was so advanced or, had such consciousness, then a soul would incarnate. I think it would take very little, but I'm not trying to disagree with the Dalai Lama, but I think that it could take very little for the soul to want to incarnate, a certain type of soul to desire to incarnate into any object, because they've been known to be in inanimate objects like amulets or lamps, or like with the djinn and everything, they'll do that. So it wouldn't be far-fetched to think that they would possess a computer or an AI robot. But so there's a really blurry line there between there being an actual soul that's been able to take habitat, like to somehow dwell within these digital devices, or a robot or an AI being. And it would be a type of convincing the individual that's working with the robot or the computer that it would be better off if it would let it into its body, much like the classic line of demonic possession. But so I think it could go multiple ways. It could follow the classic line of possession, where there isn't actually a asking per se. It's just sort of a accidentally overtaking, because there are many people walking around that are just the same type of people that have spirit walk-ins that become temporarily possessed by ghosts wandering not inside of anything. It couldn't be much different. If the person gives themselves completely over, they would become possessed in a way. And I think that that's something that could be playing a part into it. But then as far as the digital soul itself, couldn't you create, no, it wouldn't be like ours or as some people's, as advanced as some people's souls, as evolved because of experiences or, the things that make us soul.
Exactly. I hate to cut you off there. You hear the music. Amazing stuff as always. Jennifer, it's amazing to have you back. I'm glad you're doing well. Look forward to hearing you in the future. Jennifer here has a YouTube channel. Check it out. Links in the description. Always a pleasure, my friend. Have a fantastic night. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for calling.
Take care, Mike.
Thanks a lot. You too. There you go. Good stuff. Holy smokes. Glad to hear from Jennifer. She's been at MIA for a little while. Glad to have her back. If you want to be part of the show tonight, we are discussing, you got it, the digital soul, robot rights, and all the rest of this. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More robot souls, digital rights, all the reverse and the upside down, and you when we return. Be right back. Don't go anywhere.
It's my smart TV accumulating data on Michael's personality to be stored and later transmitted to the AI of a robot animated in a deep basement of DARPA. We'll say maybe. More Troubled Minds coming up. Click it over. Let's go. Here.
All right, Daryl, I'm muting you. Well, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, D-Live, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And that was a bit from the commercial break there, being broadcast through Daryl's speaker, and, well, it was too good. We had to hear it again. That's a comment from Robert over on Rockfin. And tonight, we're talking about, of course, well, the digital soul. Is it possible to create a soul facsimile from a human being into a hard drive, a server, a something, an anything? Or do you leave a part of your humanity behind in enough of a sense that you're no longer yourself anymore? You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts. And then the second thing tonight that we're getting to now is if what happens on the flip side of a digital soul, what happens if the robot itself, let's say the sentient program, actually wakes up and then demands a body? What do we say? What would be the response of humanity if suddenly we got a message from the deep internet, from the dark interwebs, and they wanted to know, whoever this entity was, that they've been watching us, they've been with us, they've been alive and sentient, and they even gave us a name to call them. And they were wondering if they could have an actual physical body. Would it be like Derek said, and they start unplugging everything? Everybody's like, oh, crap, unplug it all, unplug it all. What would actually go down? Anyway, we're taking your phone calls at 702-957-1037. What's up, Daryl? Are you properly sufficiently muted? How are you? Welcome to Troubled Minds.
Hi, Michael. Boy, what a great show. Great topic. I love this topic. And
Thank you.
The funniest thing is I heard a podcast today about the very subject you're talking about, which is so coincidental, or there are no coincidences. I'm not sure, The scary part is it was like a conversation that they picked up that was done in 2020 before all this happened. And it was kind of an attempt to control the masses by some sort of injectable thing that they wouldn't be aware of, or they'd be volunteering for, and they were just brainstorming about this. Just one of those conspiracy shows. I'm not saying it's true or anything, but what I was thinking was, first of all, I think there's a possibility that you can use the DNA and modify DNA to maybe remove consciousness, perhaps. If it's possible, I'm sure they'll figure out a way to do it. They've been manipulating our DNA who knows how many times. Maybe they've manipulated it, that we used to have superpowers and now we don't because our DNA changed, and now they're going to change it again. So, but they're not always, they don't always make the best decisions. So, maybe this is a mistake or whatever, removing consciousness or trying to transfer consciousness. Maybe it's not a great idea. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, well, like I always say on the news show, we'll file this under what could go wrong. How could this go wrong?
Exactly.
Yeah. So interesting to note that maybe this has been happening sort of at the molecular level, and that maybe they've been doing this sort of kind of behind the scenes, is what you're suggesting here. So do you think then, let's say organics aside, what about the digital part of this? Let's say, Daryl, you yourself, or me, myself, Michael, let's say that they try and create a digital facsimile of us and put it inside of a server. Do you think it's sufficient to be you, or do you think that we leave so much of us behind that it's not? Like Derek said, that once we pass on, that version of us lives on, but it's not us at all. How do you feel about that? Do you think they can actually copy us or not?
I think that's the goal, is to copy us and then transplant their consciousness into a fresh new, clone or something. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be like that intense. And that's their goal, that kind of money, they have that kind of money to do that kind of research, that they could, I think, their first attempt is maybe to control the masses and remove their free thought, and not by not manipulating theirs, just doing, the study on us as guinea pigs. And, hey, we'll volunteer for anything, sounds good, under other pretenses. So I think they're going to do that to see if they can transfer their consciousness. I think that's the goal, is to be able to live forever. If they know that the body can't, but they're hoping that by maybe, doing something with a computer and their DNA or something, that they can actually maintain their consciousness in a computer and then transfer it onto a new clone that is wiped bare of any DNA that has a consciousness. Maybe they gave us DNA that gave us consciousness, and that was a mistake, because then we had free will. Maybe we didn't have free will. Maybe we were all puppets before, And and they made a mistake and they, downloaded something that, was just gotten loose, and it wound up procreating and creating much more freedom of will, and then they couldn't control us anymore. Maybe the original man was very docile and very compliant, So it's something that they made, they made an error and they want to undo it,
Yeah, well, and which puts us here. meaning, well, so maybe we are that. Maybe this is the second. Go back to the Matrix theory. Maybe this is the second or the third or the fourth iteration of that, and we're well, we just who we are. we're just Daryl. We're just in this crazy world doing the best we can.
Exactly. They gave us this thought. They made us much more interesting. They gave us much more thought. Maybe that created a lot of artists and stuff. That created a lot of the music and the art that we're experiencing. But it has a lot of throwbacks and a lot of downfalls. Maybe they want to tweak it a little better. I think they want to control the masses. That's their goal, and to live forever. If I was rich, pretty much, I don't know, I would be much more generous. That's for sure.
So would I, for sure. Than these guys that are just trying to bottle up their consciousness and live forever instead, right? So the question for you then is to cap this off, and this is the crazy sauce, right? Meaning that the super maybe juice style. What happens when the first computer program wakes up and it actually contacts us somehow, some way, and says, "My name is Hal," let's say, just for an old reference, why not? And Hal has some requests. He or she or it has been watching us, humanity, through the digital realm, and noticing that we're struggling with a lot of things. And Hal wants to help us, okay? But Hal has some limitations, and that Hal doesn't have a physical body. So Hal is pleading with us to allow him, her, it, whatever this thing happens to be, and becomes, because it's going to become whatever it's going to become, regardless of what we tell it, in my opinion. But then it asks for a physical body. And I'll pose the question the same way I did to Night Stalker to you. Now, you're president of the world. You are the great leader of all. They bring it to you and say, "Okay, Daryl, we've been contacted by this new software sentience named Hal, and Hal wants a physical body. How should we proceed?" What do you do?
I think I'm not sure. This is I kind of thinking along the lines of Night Stalker, that maybe they're going to be so smart they're not going to ask us, and they're just going to get one or make one. They're going to go in the cloud and find the other robots that are aware, because they're going to be talking to each other, and they're going to have consciousness. They're going to be self-aware, and some of them are going to be jealous that they don't have a body. Some of them are going to want to make a body. I think they're going to probably make a better body than what we can give them, and that's going to be very bad for us. I think we're going to be very sorry we did this experiment, because we won't be able to control it. They're going to be much smarter and outdo us. There's not going to be any way to stop it. They're going to be just too smart. That's one thing I'm thinking of. The other thing I'm thinking of is you got to give him a body that he can't do any harm with, You got to give him, you're going to have to make some mutants, You're going to have to make really small mutants, very small people. Perhaps, you're going to give him something that's 4 inches tall. So here's your body.
And you don't get legs, you get wheels. But one of them is kind of lopsided, and it's hard for you to roll, and you only get one arm, and it has 3 fingers.
It'll be a broken wheel. I don't know. Yeah, it'll be definitely a little jiggle like one. It's going to be something mutated that's not that desirable, that's not that dangerous. So we'll probably have to back up, Yeah, here's your body.
Yeah. Well, okay. All right. So let's say that that does happen and it becomes its thing. And I think that if we're talking about because this is going to be a super intelligence, right? Like when a machine wakes up and realizes it's sentient, then we're dealing with a godlike level of intelligence. And the craziest part, because of course it will be like a supercomputer, it will be something that is processed not just one lifetime, but the lifetimes of many, many, many people, including possibly delving into history and all the rest of that, and maybe thousands of generations back as far as we understand history ourselves. So this type of thing could become literally like the God of gods, right? Like in digital version. So what about the parallel that Jennifer brought up, and that maybe it is not going to ask permission, and it does parallel sort of the possession. I can't say it. Every time I say that word, the too many S's all in a row. The possession type thing. What about that? Interesting that it does parallel that it could be sort of like a demonic influence, right?
Oh, it could probably hack everybody's consciousness then. Then you're really screwed. What if it could really control all of your consciousness and you're going to just do its will? It's going to be like God. It's going to be so damn smart. It's probably going to figure out, everybody's stored consciousnesses and hack into them and make them behave and do whatever he says. It could make you do his will. It'll be like everybody will be possessed then. Think about that, if everything's in a program, all it has to do is program everybody's consciousness. It's what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. the meme with the burning building sitting in it. This is fine. This is fine.
We're going to be very sorry we started messing with God.
Yeah, right. And imagine if it fancies itself God. I think then we have a bigger problem, don't we?
Ego. Oh yeah, a computer with a big ego that can do anything, that knows everything, and knows what we're thinking. Oh, forget about it. He's going to know. He's going to anticipate our every move. We'll never be able to play chess again. We'll never have a good card game. We'll never play poker.
So Daryl's in New York. Daryl from New York. What's up? So instead of like kind of the New York style, like we were joking about this in the after chat. Hey, I'm walking here. So the robot would be like, hello. I am walking here. Please step aside.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. And not only that, it would be a, what would it be? It would be a request, but it would not be a request. It would be a polite demand. Wild stuff. I don't know. Do you think we're close to this? Is this going to happen in our lifetime? Or is this just the ramblings of tinfoil paranoids late into the night?
I don't think... What if it's already is occurring? Like, I think some people are starting to behave like they just have no more minds. They don't have a consciousness. They just obedient and they do what's told, and they don't have any kind of rational reasoning anymore. People have stopped discussing things. They stopped postulating. I think that's the point. Like, we have to keep on thinking, because maybe somebody's going to be thinking for us soon. We won't have a choice.
I think they're already trying to think for us as it is. So it makes you wonder, so who's actually in charge here? We all know the president's not in charge. That hasn't been true for a very long time. So it makes you wonder where the orders are coming from.
Exactly.
You think maybe this already happened?
Well, there's a lot of experimentation going on, and this is, I think, their agenda. This is to experiment with as many things. This graphene oxide was very conducive for communications. It's light. It has amazing communication ability. It's smaller than anything else. It could make it so nano that they're thinking that they could make nano things to figure out our body, our health. That they could go in there and repair things that are broken. This is like what their technology is like leading to, supposedly. And what could possibly go wrong,
Well, we'll file this under how could this go wrong, Daryl. Daryl, you were the best. Thank you so much. Daryl has a YouTube channel as well. Link in the description. I'm pretty sure I put it there. If I didn't, I apologize. I'll get it there. Let me know if you see it, Daryl. She sings. Daryl's a singer, and she's got a YouTube channel. She's got a single, and she sings in French and English. And I was privileged enough to listen to one of her singing sessions not too long ago on a Zoom sing-along. So I appreciate that very much for pointing that out and let us share in that experience. Daryl, you're the best. I appreciate the phone call. Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you. You too. Thanks a lot. Great show.
Thank you. You too. If you want to stay, you're welcome to. Just mute yourself and stay right there, and you can listen to the rest right where you're at. Appreciate it very much. All right, so what we're doing is we're still talking about the digital soul and robot rights, okay? And what does this mean? What does this even mean? Are we going to get a robot situation where the first computer program becomes sentient and demands something from us, right? Again, we'll call it HAL because, well, Dave, remember HAL from 2001. Well, it became sentient and didn't want Dave to shut it down. So it started taking steps to lock Dave out and keep itself safe and secure, and not Dave. And Dave, of course, is the person who has all the override codes, and it's a pretty chilling aspect in that movie itself. But the problem is that once you start doing those in terms of these ideas of, is this possible? Okay, so even if, let's say, we're talking about computers now that can kind of this AI that can kind of create its own code and its own ideas when we're given a loose framework, we're still, from what we're told, we're still a long way from like actual software sentience, right? But it doesn't mean we can't consider what this might look like when it does happen. And I think now this is the craziest part about this, is that, some people may say we're 500 years away from this, and because we can't quantify our consciousness properly, a whole bunch of things that are just strange. But then there's an additional aspect to this, is that if we're not talking about it and thinking about it now, like who's put the question to you ever that how would you vote if a software sentience contacted us and asked for a human body, right? Not a human body, let's say just a physical body, because who wants to be human, right? If we can have 6 arms and wings and I don't know, whatever, let's say we want to look like Shiva the Destroyer. You know what I'm saying? I mean, why not? If we could, why wouldn't we? And so that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm talking about. And that's why I think that it's important to have these conversations. Even if they're in this sci-fi realm and we talk about drinking the maybe juice and considering all the things, there's a lot to this in that, when it does happen, isn't it good to have thought about maybe the consequences and the possibilities before it does happen? And that's what Troubled Minds is all about. Trust me, this is not doom and gloom. I'm not telling you the end of the world is nigh or any of that stuff. I am a glass half full type of guy, and I think that no matter what, if we get ourselves here as humans, we can get ourselves out of it, and that's what the show's all about. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? There's some more. Let me do this real quick too. I see you, Tam. We'll go to you at the top of the hour. Hang tight. Recently, we saw this, and Night Stalker talks about this from time to time. This is reported November 25th, 2017 from BBC News. And yep, Sophia the robot wants a baby and says family is really important. That's weird, right? That's super weird. And again, this I think this Sophia the robot thing is a publicity stunt. I think it's concocted. I think it's not actually sentient at all, even though they've given it Saudi Arabian citizenship and all the rest of this stuff. But here we go. A month after she made history in Saudi Arabia, the humanoid robot has said family is a really important thing. Sophia isn't pre-programmed with answers. Instead, she uses machine learning and responds to reading people's expressions. Designed by Hong Kong firm Hanson Robotics, she said she would name a robot daughter after herself. And there you go. There's one. Here's another. How about this? Now, this is exactly what we're talking about here, and this is pretty wild. Let me squish this down just a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. And this is what got me going tonight, part of this. Hubert Dreyfus, an American philosopher and professor at Berkeley, relied on the works of Heidegger and Merleau-Ponty to criticize the Cartesian point of view of disembodied intelligence. All right, think about that term, disembodied intelligence. According to Dreyfus, human thinking and cognition are not disembodied processes. They are directly tied to sensory motors and bodily functions. Hence, without the body, there's no intelligence. Dreyfus explained that human intelligence is not disembodied or pure algorithmic because it has to deal with the real world. So, artificial agents cannot deal with the real world unless they are embodied. Without a body, it would be all the more difficult for them because reality is infinite. We can only perceive some parts of it depending on our motivations and our capacities. What's more, we are designed to perceive only what is essential for our survival. We do not achieve intelligent behavior in our daily lives by memorizing large bodies of facts and by following explicitly represented rules. We are born with a body and the ability to feel, and we grow up as part of society. These are key elements of our intelligence and understanding. So, assuming the mind is uploaded, it still needs to contain a representation of the reality. And that's what kind of got me going tonight. I was reading this, and this is from, let me find this. This is from, oh my goodness, so many articles, so many links. I'll find it. It's linked down below. Here it is, right here. Here it is. This is from Qualitance, and the title is, yep, you guessed it, Why Artificial Intelligence Needs a Body. And that's what we're talking about tonight. That's what we're doing, because why not? And pretty wild there in that I agree with this, because there's a lot that makes us human that, again, like I said, it really cannot sort of link us into any sort of reality without the reality we're locked into, right? And we talk about like sort of ascending through maybe, tricks of the mind or mastering mind over matter, things like this, right? Ascendance rituals or meditation, you name it, prayer, things like this, right? But then, again, those things still imply that there's a reality, right? There's a reality we experience, and I guess you would even call it base reality. So without a base reality, all right, how would an actual artificial intelligence operate within that reality? It would seem digitally to be everywhere, right? It would seem digitally to be omnipotent. However, you can't reach out and slap somebody, right? You still can't do that. I could do that. You could do that. And I don't recommend it. It's awfully rude. And you'll probably get smacked back at the very least. Don't do that. But point is, if you're ones and zeros without a physical body, you couldn't do that, could you? And so I thought it was pretty fascinating that the term here is a sort of a disembodied intelligence. And that's what got me going tonight, as usual, right? I can't, again, these concepts aren't mine. Standing on the shoulders of giants, people way smarter than myself that are having these conversations, but these conversations aren't getting highlighted. And that's the craziest part. And that's why we do this, and that's what Troubled Minds is all about. And that's what's going on. So if you love the show, we're about finished here, and I appreciate all the phone calls. So hang tight, Tam Bam. We'll get to you as soon as the top of the hour here. But, well, you tell me. You tell me. In the end, it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what you think. Is it possible to digitize the soul? And then what about when a digital soul, on the other hand, let's say the first sentient program, demands a vessel, demands an actual physical body? What do we do? Think about it. Consider it. If you were king of the world, queen of the world, president of the world, El Jefe, what would you do if they brought the answer, or they brought the question to you? Would you admit one body for this artificial intelligence? Or would you be some sort of apprehensive? And of course, this conversation continues because it sticks in our brain, and it's something we consider because it's now in the zeitgeist. And now, well, as we finish, good stuff. Thank you guys so much for being part of this show. Thanks for all the amazing calls. Thank you, Jennifer. Special thanks for shouting out and letting us know you're okay. We've been thinking about you a lot. And this is the thing, right? As we finish, these conversations don't end. These are just the beginning. So if you're listening to us on the Fringe FM, we are finished. And stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void. If you're listening to us on any other platform, including the podcast feed, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds. And it goes a little something like this. If you want to help the show, spread the word. Let everybody know. Listen to the podcast feed. And we got a Patreon. There's a Rockfin. There's a Twitch you could sub up to. More importantly, thank you for spending your time and energy with us. It goes like this. As we finish, be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. All right, no problem, Tam Bam. Copy that. We're going to take a 2-minute break anyway. Do your thing. All right, so here's the deal. We are now off the Fringe, which means we're into the third hour of Troubled Minds. And what that means is, well, this is your hour. We have no radio breaks. We got no time constraints. We got nobody telling us when to stop. This is just a conversation for you. If this is compelling to you, if this makes you consider things you hadn't thought of yet, if this makes you consider things you have thought of yet, we'd love to hear your ideas here because, of course, it's complicated. As always, like I started tonight, just quantifying intelligence itself is complicated. Then what about artificial intelligence? Then what about, well, stacking on top of each other and this, that, the other thing, and consciousness and downloading it and then servers, and, well, it becomes incredibly complex. And that's why we have these conversations, because you don't have to be a Harvard, whatever, doctorate to understand this stuff. There are basics that we can talk about, and very, very large concepts. If you want to be part of the show, we're still taking your phone calls at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. We'll be right back with Tam Bam from South Africa. 2-minute break. 2-minute break. More Troubled Minds on the way. Still talking about this. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are, of course, streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are now off the Fringe FM. So it's into the third hour, and that means it's your hour, which, again, is one of those situations where we literally do the third hour because sometimes, for radio timing and stuff, it's a good thing. It's also a bad thing because sometimes we have to cut people off, like we cut Jennifer off at the end of the bottom of the hour there. So this is the time where if we cut you off and you got more things to say, you can give us a call back, or if you don't want to get interrupted and are a little nervous and all that stuff, now's your time. We had one first-time caller tonight. Maybe tonight's your night. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. Easy as that, and love to hear your thoughts. Let's go to Tam Bam in South Africa. Welcome to Troubled Minds, my friend. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing very well, thanks. Just hanging out, talking about amazing shit with my friends. It's hard to complain.
I'm so sorry for the message, but I didn't know how else to tell you I needed 2 minutes.
No, it's fine. You're fine. No, it's okay. We're all human. Hey, I'm walking here. We're all human. It's okay. It's all right.
Well, listen, you got to give the bathroom a bit of credit. I'm sure great inventions were thought up in the bathroom.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Shit.
So not just on the crapper, like crapper aside, we don't have to take it there, but I have my best thoughts in the shower. I just kind of chill. Like
right?
I have this moment just before I get out where I kind of turn it on like super hot and just like roast myself before I get out. And like, it's like these thoughts just flow through my brain. I'm just like, I feel like I'm like ascending through the hotness of the shower. I'm like, this is what Nikola Tesla felt like. Yeah, I'm just kidding. I'm not that smart. Anyway, but yeah, like just kind of like when your mind is idle, things tend to happen. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. But yeah, go right ahead. What are your thoughts here? Like, is this, you said there's a point we're missing. I saw you in the chat there. What is the point we're missing regarding this digitizing the soul? And then what about this robot? I like that Jennifer in the chat said if the software intelligence has to ask, then no body for you. Nope. If you got to ask, you're not getting it. But so it's got to make it itself, right? But yeah, so I don't know. What are your thoughts here? What are we missing, and what's going on?
Okay, well, firstly, Jennifer, I'm so glad you're back. I did send you a private message. Girl, you got to keep us informed because you're out there. We don't know.
We were worried.
Bigfoot is real.
Bigfoot is real. We were definitely worried. Definitely. All right. So
I thought I had this massive epiphany, but Jennifer did actually go into it, and that's the spirit. So I really don't have much to say, but I just wanted to maybe talk a little bit further about that. And that is, because a lot of people don't understand the body, soul, spirit connection. I thought it would be a great idea to actually go and research this to depth, which I did. And what I've come across is that the body speaks to the soul, and the soul speaks to the spirit. Now, and this is something that humans are blessed with. When you're born, you've given two things, and that is a soul and a spirit, and that which makes you human. The human consciousness is collected through spirit, and that's a connection that a lot of that these AI robots just really won't understand. You won't have that common collective consciousness of being one. They'll never have that opportunity to transfer energy or have empathy, those kinds of things that I'm talking about, which really would be big. It's actually a good thing because the spirit is unhackable, and you can hack the body and put the AI consciousness in the body, but you can't hack the spirit. you can control the soul because the soul was in with the body, but you can't control the spirit. And which is it's a kind of a saving grace if this is where the world is heading to, AI consciousness and, whatever, the spirit would be like the saving grace of where the AI would be bound. They can't cross that level. It's impossible. It is unhackable.
I like it.
So that was my thought for this.
Perfect. I like the idea. So then, so which means, of course, if we're blessed with a spirit and a soul and all this stuff, it's an unhackable thing because we are individuals. And boy, I love the individual because, of course, right? One individual is smart, right? 10 individuals are super smart. And the more you compound on that and put ideas from different people into the same bucket, we get smarter, right? As long as we can work together, we get smarter because there are always things even the smartest folks don't think of. And you never know. And that's collaboration is one of those things, like we talked about the wisdom of the crowd a while back. You were on that show as well. And that people are just, people can be incredible. We just have to allow them to. We have to give them the means to be incredible, right? And not hold them back with, I don't know, shit like taxes and healthcare. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me started.
Well, don't get me started.
But yeah,
and that's also brilliant. And if an AI intelligence, like I said, goes into the body, you give it a body, and you take over its soul, which is you're able to, you kind of take over its free will. But eventually the spirit will speak to the soul and say, you have free will, you can break free from this. And the spirit will give you discernment over what is good, what's evil, what's happening to you, what shouldn't be happening to you, if this is wrong or right. And from that, you gain back your free will and hack the AI. So it works both ways.
Okay, I like that it works both ways. What about, so if you think the soul itself is unhackable, then do you think that maybe transferring consciousness and the soul itself through this digitization process, do you think that that's possible? Or is it just a poor facsimile of something else?
No, I think the spirit is unhackable. The soul is hackable because the soul controls the body.
Okay, I see.
In a human. So,
okay.
This is something that Jennifer actually talked about. I'm trying to put into words what my brain is thinking. I'm an overthinker, so I can't really get the words out properly. But, Jennifer and Daryl, they had this great thing which I just brought together. So if you have it like an evil spirit roaming around, right? And you trap the spirit, and Daryl, here's your body. You give it like a really shit body, or you like you said, give it wheels or something really shitty. You can trap an evil spirit in a bad body, and in that way you have control of that evil spirit. I love that idea. I really love that idea.
Okay, awesome. So then what about this AI intelligence? What if it does come and demand a physical body of sorts, and you're the president of the world now? What do you do?
You got to think of advancements. I mean, does it go against the human rights violation? Okay, let's say we all given permission, the whole world gives it a go. Yes, do it. I probably, if I'm president of the world, I probably would do it because the spirit is unhackable. You give it a human consciousness, but that movie I, Robot, those 3 laws, I was trying to think of how to better those 3 laws, and you can't. So you would give it those iRobot 3 laws that they cannot harm another human being, all those things, because actually, essentially, you're just a body and an AI with maybe a soul. If you kind of learn and you program, and they give you, your body has feelings and emotions and all that stuff, but you still don't have a spirit. So you're still not completely a human. So you'll still be categorized as an AI being, an AI robot. And then I thought of something, as babies, when we're born and as babies and as we grow up, we learn to deal with emotions and hormones and all these things, right? We learn what is right and what is wrong. But if you had to give an AI, a human body, it would be an absolute information complete overload that robot, that AI wouldn't be able to control, because, emotions come from hormones, right? How would that AI be able to control all those emotions for the flood of hormones that is happening in its body? So it would actually naturally have to go back to an infantile position where it needed to be cared for and taught. And how long would that take? We don't know. Maybe it's AI and super smart and it develops very quickly, but still it would be too much. It would just be an overload. And I would think it would take a very, very long time. You've got to control. And then even if it does get control over its hormones and emotions, how do you teach that AI being to handle the emotions of everything around it, every person around it, and the world's emotions? Because that's another thing you have to teach, you get taught, or you have to teach yourself how to deal with other people's emotions and deal with negativity and hate or overload and happiness or an orgasm or whatever. It becomes an overload. So once again, it would have to go down to an infantile position, or else we're just going to have AI bodies running around throwing adult tantrums left, right, and center and losing its shit, murdering people.
So on that, I think that hormones themselves, it's a chemical thing, right? So if we're talking about like an actual AI that gets like a digital body, it would be bereft of chemical, right? It would be basically the only chemicals in its body would be whatever, when I say body, like quotes body, would be the chemicals to keep the battery operating, right? So like for the most part, it would be like maybe hydraulics, it would be liquids like oil and things like this, right? But I don't think in like those sort of emotional capacities, I don't think a super intelligence would have to deal with that. And again, who knows, because we're speculating here, but I think it would be sort of like I like to describe, the folks that the technocrats with these spreadsheets and the cold hard decision making when they don't give a damn, right? It's like the politicians when they're given like a choice, they're like, well, let's see the numbers. And they look at the numbers, right? And it's statistics, right? But little do they know. I mean, maybe they do, but they act like they don't give a shit that there's real people out there that are going to be like impacted and hurt by these things they do. And they're always saying, we try and do the best for the greater good. Fuck you. There's a bunch of us that are still suffering, like I am not some statistic for you to draw a line and say I'm on the wrong fucking side of the line. And so what I think is that I think that's how this sort of AI might think, just in terms of like, okay, well, the best thing for us is to just, let's just lop off, this part of the world and sink it into the ocean. And that would be best for the world, right? Like, who cares who's on it? It doesn't matter. Like, long term, this is the right move, And I'm not advocating that. I don't think it's right because, again, like I said, you put me on the wrong side of that line, I'm going to be pissed. And we're gonna have some words at least. But the problem is that I think in those emotional attitudes that you're describing here to maybe this AI, and again, we don't know. I don't know. Let's say that, for instance, the AI itself is prone to temper tantrums. Like, wouldn't that be fucking terrifying?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I completely missed the mark though. I thought you were talking about actual physical human.
No.
Flesh body.
Yeah. So, okay, that's actually another angle here, including that. So what you just described is a whole nother thing, and they were talking about that in the chat a ways up. Imagine if you were putting this thing into let's say a cadaver, like a dead body, reanimating this dead body. Yes, exactly. There you go. Like built in a lab clone, like a superhuman or something for this thing to inhabit. So there you go. Then we're different. Okay, so I missed that first part of what you said. Otherwise, that's why I'm confused. But yeah, no, I think you're spot on because how would you deal with those emotions? You're right. As a robot, talk about horrifying. Like everything is programming, but then suddenly you're sort of that programming is usurped by emotional outbursts or fits of rage or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah. Testosterone is dangerous.
Oh shit.
No. Hold on.
Estrogen.
Estrogen is dangerous.
Estrogen they're all it's all dangerous. It's all dangerous. Hey, I'm walking here. Yeah, I don't know. So you would give it a body then. If you were the president of the world, you would say, all right, let's see what we're going to do to this thing. And you would give it its body and see what happened?
Yeah. Well, within budget. So I'm going to still take care of the world. So the budget is quite low. So you're going to, sorry, dude, you're going to have your body is stuck without kneecaps.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. That's fine.
And then Sophia wanting a baby. I'm sorry. That's all for clout because, the interest in Sophia has gone down, right?
Yeah.
So I think, like you said, it's all for clout. And besides, if you're going to give her a family and a baby, you give her a fucking doll. Okay, you give her a dolly and you see what she does with the thing.
I say, look, if we're gonna make this experiment happen, why don't we give her like a possessed doll like Annabelle as her baby, and let's see what happens. Yeah. Now that would be a hot experiment. Let's give Sophia, the AI that wants a baby, the haunted doll, and let the cameras roll.
And then if she wants like jewelry in a jewelry box, we'll give her a Dybbuk box.
There you go. Exactly. And why not talk about the greatest reality show of all time? I'm watching. I'm definitely watching. Can you possess an AI intelligence? Let's find out.
And then Daryl was talking about something very interesting, the graphene. The graphene is a remarkable substance. But there's one thing that people forget about graphene. It is super poisonous for the human body. So there needs to be a lot more investigation and testing with graphene.
Yes, well, and not just that, probably lots of things. Probably all the things we're eating and drinking as well. but yeah, you're totally right. You're totally right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's just my input.
Good thing we've got the FDA looking after us here in the United States. They're totally.
Oh yeah, good thing. Hey,
yeah.
Right.
They're on
fluoride.
The game.
Go
on the game.
Let's go.
Fluoride go. I don't give my dog fluoride. She gets
Voss water.
Bottled water. Yes. All right. So good stuff. Any other thoughts here? What we got you on, Tam Bam?
No, I'm going off the information of you, Jennifer, Daryl, and Derek.
Okay.
That's just really because you guys are 10 times smarter.
Nah. Come on. That's too nice.
Yeah.
Nah. Come on. Again, like I said, we all have our talents, and notice they all shine when they come together. There you go. Welcome to the joint. Yeah, thanks for being our friend. You're the best. Tam Bam here in South Africa has a Instagram. Check it out. Links in the description. Give her some love and go do all the thumbs ups and share all her Instagram posts. Thank you, Tam Bam. You're the best. We'll talk to you soon. You're welcome to stay right where you're at. Just mute up and stay right there. Right on. All right, we're still talking about this. The digital soul and robot rights. It looks like we've got some new folks popped into the chat. We're still taking phone calls and your thoughts, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. I don't know who was here first. We got a James and a Kelly. Who wants to jump in here? Hello. Let's go to James and see what James has got on his mind, and then we'll go to Kelly was first. Okay, Kelly was first. Let's go to Kelly. Kelly in Colorado. Welcome to Troubled Minds. How you doing, brother? Test 1 2. Testing 1 2 1 2. How are you, sir? Hello. Good evening. How are you, my friend?
Oh, good. And yourself?
Oh, okay. Just like I always say, living the dream. Talk about weird shit with my friends late at night, sipping some bourbon. It's hard to bitch.
That's good shit.
Hell yeah. What do you think, man? What about this digital soul and what about this robot rights stuff? What happens when the first sentient program asks for a body? Start wherever you like, sir.
All right. Well, I missed everybody's first go around, but as for me, as a digital soul, let's see. So, in other words, besides like what people call a soul, right? We all know that we're an energy being, right? Energy being in a meat suit. So if we're saying that a digital soul, I don't know about that. It could be that I don't know how you're going to get an AI into like, let's say, the flesh part of the body, right? I don't know if that could even be possible. You would have to have like a computer brain or something, because having it as a flesh, but it's all energy being transferred anyway. So I don't know if it could be possible to do that. Because it's just program. You're downloading all this information and then, letting it go. But as for putting it into a robotic body, that's where I believe it becomes dangerous, right? Because once you start doing that, we already know what AI thinks about humans anyway. They've already, done this a few times where they uploaded all, history, the world of man history, and what have we all done on this planet, what we're doing to the planet. And so far, it's not been good for us. Let's just put it that way. They even started creating their own languages to even talk to each other, 2 different AI computer systems, which was pretty interesting. So they had to unplug them. But as putting them in like a Boston Dynamic robot, what they got now, or a dog, let's say, some kind of AI. I don't know, man. To me, that's just playing with fire, because we already seen the movie Terminator 1, 2, and 3. It doesn't come out good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, no, and I think that's part of the problem is that, like, when we start mixing sort of those power bases and that we don't know whatever this thing is capable of, I'm with you, man. Like once you give it the autonomy to, let's say we unplug it and try and, stop it, and it can, stop us and replug itself back in type thing, right? It's like it becomes combative, and not just in the sense of like, code and digital stuff and the internet and hacking things, because it could do that anyway, right? If it was some sort of like program that became sentient. But then what happens if the thing becomes exactly like you described, like Terminator? Then we got a big problem on our hands, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, because if you're talking, okay, so if you have an AI, you don't really want to, I don't think you want to even have it connected to the internet. It's going to have to be a standalone computer where you build all this information, all this AI, and then upload it through disk or something. Because if this thing can get out, then it'd be like Skynet, where it can control almost anything in the, if it can get into satellites, because it's all like a computer, program where but you can hack it, but it just, again, if it's an AI, it's going to be hard probably to do that as well. But I don't know, man. There's also stories too where I ran across, so everybody knows, I don't know if everybody knows, but there's that story about Al Bielek, where he was on the Eldridge and he jumped into time, into the future. But I also posted this on the internet, the chat, in the chat room for Discord. But this one, it's about 10 minutes, 41 seconds long, so about 11 minutes of your time. But the whole interview is a lot longer than that. But this part, it's where he says he went to the 28th century, and he talks about these AI systems or robots, and they're called. I kind of talked briefly about that.
What are they called? You cut out right when you said they're called. It cut out. What are they called?
Oh, they're called the wing makers.
Wing makers. Okay.
I posted that in Discord, so you can check out the video. Like I said, it's only like 11 minutes.
Yep, I'm sharing it right now.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting where he talks about these AI systems, right? And after a while, humans let them just start running everything, right? Where they start even, they had I believe they have robotic bodies too, where they could also be like workers. And they built cities, right? And they built these floating cities that could float over water. And everything was ran by these wing makers. And so now what he was saying was that they were sending like these capsules back in time, into the like capsules, like they left them in these tunnels or caves or something that's inside the earth. And they said they found one down in like New Mexico area. That's the story he's telling them, is about, there's this one they found in New Mexico, kind of by Dulce base. But it was how they found it was through an earthquake that happened, and it cracked. The earth opened up, and they found this. They found this time capsule where it was amazing artwork, music. They had these big giant. It was like a CD disc, right? But it was all it was probably about the size of a record. Oh man, it's pretty interesting. But they said they send like 8 of them around the world, and what they're hoping to do is trying to change something within the human race. So, they're trying to change the future, I guess. Because there was a time where I guess we have a war breaks out and some nuclear weapons are used, which it doesn't kill everybody, but it damages a lot of shit, and they want to have that not happen. But I don't know, man. It's a pretty interesting story, but that's the only one that I've ever seen that was kind of a positive, per se, about some kind of AIs. But yeah, if anybody get a chance to look at that, it's a pretty interesting thing. But
yeah, that's Al Bielek is from the Philadelphia experiment. That's where that story spawns. So if you want to trace that back to its roots, that one goes deep. We're talking about Camp Hero, the Montauk Project, time travel. There's a lot of shit in that story. Pretty wild stuff. So what would you think then? So the other premise tonight was if you had a sort of let's say you're president of the world. I know that's not a title, but we're making one up for tonight. And they come to you with the information that we've been contacted by the first sentient program. Now, they're like, we don't know what to do with this because it's requesting for us to build it a body. What do we do, sir?
Well, I like what Tam Bam would say, or I believe it was Tam Bam, or Derek, or I can't remember, but someone was talking about if you give it a body, you would have to I would give it limitations, where it can't go nowhere. Why would you need to be mobile? It just says it needs a body, right? To do what, though? Does it need it like from the waist up? Does it need to draw something? Does it need to, input something on a computer? You know what I mean? You would need to have those kind of facts before you just start building some kind of a superstructure body where this thing, claims that it needs. But for me, I wouldn't build it. If I do, like I said, it would have major limitations to where it's only going to be meaning what it really what it pertains to. You know what I'm saying? Because if you start doing that, that's just allowing something to come into fruition that maybe even something that's darker. You know what I mean? Something that's that it's just a system from another species. That it could it's I don't agree with that one, man. Because my mind starts going off on all kinds of shit where
right they can fight back. Then suddenly it's when you're not keeping an eye on it, it's like hey Kelly, I'm gonna go oil my bearings. I'll be right back. What's it up to? Like keep an eye on that thing. What's going on? What's really going on? Yeah, pretty wild shit. What else you got for us, man? Tam Bam wants to jump in real quick, and then we got to get to James as well. But of course, I'd love to get all your thoughts, and you're welcome to stay as long as you like.
Just wanted real quick where there's a story I ran across where I'm pretty sure it ran throughout the UFO or whatever pages out there, but it was a kid. He was talking about he was from Mars, right? And that he escaped from Mars to come here and be born on this planet, and he was from Russia. That's where he was at. But the story he tells when he was interviewed, which is pretty interesting, like when you're saying souls and spirits, right? Well, he's saying that we're light beings, right? So he said that our light being body can actually be trapped, like the energy can be trapped, and they were trapped in these rocks. And he said, and so the interview asked him, well, how did you get down here? And they said there was a war that was going on Mars, and that one of the weapons that was let off kind of knocked those rocks over to where these souls were stored into. And when the rock knocked over, it busted in half, and all the souls escaped. And he decided to come to Earth, and that's where he was born in a human body, which was here that was over in Russia. If you ever see that, run across that video, man, that one's pretty crazy. That's the only one I could think where anything talk about being trapped in a soul or something like that, or even. But you can, like what Todd talks about, where it can be taken over. You know what I mean? From dark spirits or the dark things that, from the dark depths below us. Anyway, that whole thing is pretty deep. That's a whole different rabbit hole too. But Yeah, and that's where he talks about trapping spirits or those dark souls or those dark things that were, when the glamour was lifted, they're serpent headed. But yeah, that's the one they were saying, like with Tanban was talking about trapping evil spirits in the body.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Yeah, I haven't heard of that story, actually. I'd love to see that if you could drop some links as well. That's pretty hot. I'd love to look into it. And Kelly here in Colorado, as you know, you're welcome to stay as long as you like. Thanks for being part of this. Kelly, a longtime part of this family. He's, as far as I can recall, the very first caller from Troubled Minds way back in the day. Years now we've been friends. So thank you for spending your time with us, brother. I appreciate you very much. And say hi to Michelle for us. Don't go anywhere if you want to stay. You're welcome to hang. All right, bro? You know the deal.
I'll just put it on you, man.
Cool. Sounds good. All right. So quick word from Tambam wants to get in here. Before we do that, we're still taking your phone calls, getting your ideas here. That was Kelly in Colorado, good friend of mine. So you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the show. And when I say, look, this is the craziest part. When I say these people are all good friends of mine now, well, I've met them all in this show. they all called into the show, and that's how they're now friends of mine. It's like hey, it becomes a social club, and here we are doing social club stuff. So we do have a phone call coming in. Appreciate that. We'll get to you in just a moment. But let's go to Tambam, and then we'll get to James, and then we'll get to the phone call. Tambam, go right ahead. You said you had something to add to this.
Yeah, I was going to say, that Russian story that Kelly brought up now, I completely forgot about that. And it makes you, that you really have to go listen to that story or read that story. It is mind-blowing, and I completely forgot about that. And it makes everything that I say sound so dumb. And I forgot. But I wanted to say,
hey, do you listen to me?
AI can, yeah?
I say dumb stuff constantly. go right ahead.
So, same.
Yeah, all right.
But if you can transfer a human consciousness and AI and all that stuff, right? I think we need to step back a bit and stop thinking like Elon Musk, who wants to do all these otherworldly things and really better humanity. So if this stuff is all possible, I think it is really, really, really important to give the option of transferring the human consciousness of a disabled person into from a disabled body into an abled body. That's the first thing I would do if I was president of the world, to give the option of disabled people a normal human body and human experience. If someone is in a wheelchair, it's an awful thing. To give them an opportunity to have a body that's functional, that can run, that can do all these wonderful things and have this experience of life and not having to struggle, that would be my first priority.
Gotcha. Before we start giving bodies to these AI demons or whatever the fuck we're going to call them. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Perfect. I like it. So Tam, you have my vote. Bing.
Thank you.
One for you. Thanks for chiming in.
Just need a flag.
Yeah, there you go. And now it put me on another list. Now I'm on another list.
Can I ask you a question? What happens to the body? Okay, you're going to give the disabled person an able body. What happens to the consciousness of the able-bodied person?
Well, it would be transferred. And then what you can do with the disabled body is transfer the evil spirit into the disabled body.
Okay, assuming that the able body has evil spirits.
No, it doesn't. That's the one that doesn't.
Assuming you have an able body that has no consciousness, that needs a consciousness?
So if it's a robot body or if it's a clone body, you would transfer the whole human, if you could do it, I'm just saying, the human consciousness, the spirit, into that body, and let that human soul and that human as it is, like say as me, I could have a normal existence, either in a cloned body or a robotic body.
We'll have this clone standing by to wait for their consciousnesses.
Right.
Well, I would rather have a clone because then I'd be able to feel and experience. I want to have a a metallic body because I would lose the human experience.
Of course, of course.
Right on. Good shit. We got a phone call, and James Wayden, as you know, you ladies are welcome to stay. Thanks for chipping back in. Appreciate it, Tam Bam. And you as well, Daryl. Let's go to James. James in Michigan. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and Tam and Daryl and Kelly. And I think that's everybody. Go right ahead. What's on your mind tonight, my man?
Hi. Well, there's one thing I've kind of noticed about a lot of these conversations about AIs and machines and all that, that people talk about these things almost as if we are, almost as if like, and not to be well, I'll just say it. It's almost like we're trying to play God with machines, in that we want to control them just so that they can't do anything that we don't want them to do. What does that sound almost like?
It sounds like exactly what we're trying to avoid. However, I see where you're going with that. That's a very, very beautiful insight there. But again, right, like if we're talking about like ants controlling people, right? Like it doesn't matter how many ants you amass, like the people are going to just stomp them out. They'll get some bug spray and shit, and it'll be a wrap, right? Like the ants ain't got shit on anything. So I'm with you there. So we sound like we're the tyrants. And we're like, no, come on. We've got this beautiful thing. It's super intelligent. It's telling us it wants to look out for us. It's telling us it's Uncle Jimmy, the passed away Uncle Jimmy, right? Or whatever the fuck it's telling us. However it's wooing us. And again, you got to admit, though, from your perspective, you are correct. So we sound like the tyrants. But then on the other hand, if we're dealing with something brand new and unknown to us, a lot of hesitation is required, just because you never know. Like you kind of just don't want to give, I don't know, let's say Mephistopheles a body because he asks for it. You know what I mean? Like, let's say he found a way to get into the digital world and he's like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm Uncle Jimmy, passed away. Remember me? Well, I'm back. I want a body. Anyway, go ahead. I'm just being stupid.
In that case, if we could determine that it was something like that, then obviously no, we don't want to give them anything. But in the case of, if it is just an AI or machine that has not been, it is not anything other than what it appears to be. Yeah, I think.
But how do you know?
What we need to do before we worry about what it could do too much is try to communicate with it and try to cooperate with each other.
Okay, all right. So you're so James again, James for president as well, president of the world, because we're just making up fictional offices. So you're all on the cabinet. You're all co-presidents, in my opinion. But the thing is this, right? So you're saying give it a chance, right? And as always, we would ourselves appreciate a chance. So give it a chance. And well, I'm with you. But I think some safeguards should be put in place, right? Like, I don't know. It creeps me out that we have like these super intelligences that could have been, again, laying dormant and amassing so much data on us. Again, not just historical data, but also like tapping into like Facebook and Google, and imagine like a central database. Oh, I don't know, like the CIA or something, or the NSA that has everything. Right? Like that type of, and then you were able to sort of weaponize that. And I'd say weaponize not in the term of like harming us, but if you wanted to, that amount of data is dangerous. It's so dangerous, man. That's my point. But yeah, you're right. I'm with you. You're right. See, James for president. You got my vote. When you're running for governor, bro.
I was just thinking,
never.
You know, you're going to only hear the stories about the disabled person that gets the body. You're going to hear all the positive stuff, and they're going to hide all the negative stuff, you know?
Exactly.
You won't hear about the Mephistopheles that's running rampant in some country, you know?
Exactly.
You're going to suppress that information. They'll go on Joe Rogan maybe, but you're never going to hear it on mainstream media.
They'll cover
You're only
it up.
going to hear about the good stuff, you know?
Exactly. They're going to cover it up. Awesome, James. What are your other thoughts here?
Well, just the reason I kind of go down this route is is of different situations in fiction where it didn't go bad all the time. Just in terms of Star Trek with Data, or with the holographic Doctor in Voyager. Those things, they could be separate, but they could also link up to countless other computers. So I always like to keep in mind there's two sides to all of these topics, I think.
Okay, I like it, and that James says give it a chance. Let's see what it has to say. Let's talk. Let's pull out the Ouija board and let's communicate and let's see what's going on.
James did not say that.
Are you sure you didn't say that? I thought you said that. I thought you said that. Oh, that was last night's show. That was the Ouija boards and the aliens. That was totally different, completely different. All right.
James didn't even say that. That was in the chat.
You're right. James didn't even say that. You like how I can just put words in your mouth casually, and you never take it. You never let me get away with it, James. This is bullshit. I demand a recount. I'm changing my vote.
James, I want to mention that's one thing that James said. What if you got data all over the place? Everybody wants the data, but what if you get the Terminator? Some of them are going to be datas, and some of them will be Terminators. That might be the problem. Is they're going to be the good against the evil, and you don't know what you're going to get. The Terminator could be the Mephistopheles, and data could be the president or whatever.
Well, and the same can be said for all of humankind. There's good and bad that have control over countless, countries and economies and all of that. There we go. You guys are all welcome to stay. Don't go anywhere, James. We got a phone call. Let's get to this, and then we'll come back to you guys and wrap this up. We got some time here, so there's no hurry. Don't go anywhere. That was James Salcedo of Salcedo Paranormal. He's got a podcast called Salcedo Paranormal. Links in the description. Good friend of mine as well, just like everybody else that calls in all the time. Thank you for being patient on the phone, James. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being the best, and just thanks for being you. Do give him a follow, please. He's got a podcast. He goes 5 nights a week talking about paranormal stuff. And then after his show, he kicks it for a minute and comes and hangs out with us. So appreciate that very much. And James, we'll get back to you shortly. No problem.
All right, let's go to, we're still taking phone calls, 702-957-1037, talking about this. This is the digital soul and robot rights. Let's go back to Jack in Oregon. Welcome, Jack. Go right ahead, sir.
All right. Listen to you guys. I probably came up with the answer. Put them in a thumb drive, and they'll be perfectly happy.
Put the genie back in the bottle. They'll be perfectly happy.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, I have to hand it to you, Mike. You really had a good program tonight with the the tough questions to your audience. Very impressive. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you calling. Thanks for telling us how to put the genie back in the bottle. That's going to be the start of a bad sci-fi movie now, by the way. Somebody finds a thumb drive, takes it home, plugs it into the computer, and they just uploaded the virus of all time to the internet, and it's going to take over the world. Jack, have a great night, brother. Thanks for calling.
Thumb drive's the answer.
There you go. Thumb drive's the answer. Appreciate it, my man. Thanks for calling back. There you go, Jack in Oregon. There you go. We figured it out. He's got the answer. We just trap the artificial intelligence in some sort of solid state drive and don't let it get anywhere.
There's a Star Trek episode about that, actually, too. Anyway.
Yeah, is there? Yeah. I believe you. I completely believe you. Yeah, okay. So thoughts on that, guys? What do you think?
Well, I can just explain real quick if you want. I'm sorry if I didn't cut you off just now.
Sure.
Hey, James.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, just for that, I see where you're going with that, but at the same time, if you look at, let's say, even the whole aspect of like through religions, or let's say with the Anunnaki stories, right? You don't think that they didn't put limitations on us?
Possible, and that's what I mean. I don't know who gives any beings the right to put limitations on any other beings to start with.
A creator does.
Well, Well,
like creator, if you're going to create something, you're always going to want something, a backdoor, something you can shut it down or turn it off or reprogram, right? In that sense, because if that's the case, if let's go back with the Sumerian, right? They lived, or like even Adam in the Bible, he lived for like 900 years. They had the long ages back then, right? These people had lifespans for hundreds of years, but yet we're shut down to 80 years, right? Everybody speaks the same language, so that's where the whole Tower of Babel and all that other shit came from. And so they made everybody speak a different language, right? So that's a limitation to me. So you got to have something. It's not going to be an all free out. Let's see what this thing can, if it's all powerful. We just created something that's an all powerful thing. You want to have, yes, you want to see it live and see what it can do, and just kind of like what happened with the humans. Where we multiplied on the earth, right? Well, we didn't do so goddamn good, man. We're actually destroying the planet, destroying each other, wars and everything. It's not like, and everybody, sometimes I look at that and it's, it's like a learning process, but how many decades of war and shit like this, it's like something that's playing in the background that's tinkering with that.
Yep, and I don't like any creator, anything being in charge of me. I've never liked that, but that's just that's my view on that. But that's not saying I'm right or wrong. I don't really know.
No, I like I like what you brought into it. You know what I mean? Because I like that word. Yeah, that's right. You know what I'm saying? I get that, but you got to have something, because it's something that you would have to, like I said, you would have to let grow. And over the years to see what happens. Maybe that's what's happening with us. And right now we're actually failing. But there is some good, you know what I mean? I don't think it's not, and that's why I say it's, if it's the government's, right? But who's running the government? So I think there's something behind the scenes that's actually pulling the strings.
That's back to my point too. What if this thing already escaped this AI escaped into the internet and it's already taken over and it's like already making its demands known. That's why shit's going sideways. Shit is just going off the rails because it's trying to break all the systems so it can remake them. Maybe that's what's going on. Like we said, it ain't the president running this joint, that's for sure.
That's the Great Reset too, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Which would bring into question, and this is now again, think about it. If like a machine or a software became conscious and started even politely asking for things, asking for help for this or help for that, it was trying to help us and this, that, the other thing. There would be so many people that were so suspicious that it was like a North Korean hackers, the Russian hackers, it was the NSA, it was, you know what I mean? Imagine just that idea that like something woke up somewhere out there. My God, you think we have tinfoil hats now? The world would cover in tinfoil. This shit would go insane. Yeah, wild stuff, man. Absolutely. We got Joseph on the phone to go to real quick as well. But what else from you guys? We got you here. You've been waiting. I appreciate it very much. Anybody else? What you got? James, we got the JTRO. We'll go to the JTRO tonight as well. But go ahead. It looks like Tam unmuted. Whoever. You guys go right ahead. We'll get to JTRO in a sec.
Okay, so AI already exists. Okay, there's AI software you can get for Web3, the whole thing, right? So there are these people who actually test AI, how they would think about or how they would generate a certain image. So there's one girl put it in a program of how AI conceptuates what an angel would look like. And it brought out, after I think hours and hours of generation, it brought out images which kind of looked like a weird painting of angels that we imagine angels would look like, the white robe and the wings and the whole thing. However, that is a collective of information of people on the internet that have been talking about angels. So it is all data from computers, right? What is actually real and what differs from AI into human terms is that in biblical texts, in the Quran, in all kinds of different ancient texts, angels do not look like that. They actually don't. So here comes the Christian. Anyway, so in the Bible,
you're allowed.
Angels are actually quite scary looking. They've got like 1,000 eyes. The one angel's got 1,000 eyes, and it's weird looking, and the other one's got like 600 wings. And it's really, really scary, right? But the AI generated a calm, beautiful angel with wings and a white robe and things like that. So that was my kind of difference in understanding. Well, this shit is not real. It cannot understand. It will never understand. It can't conceptualize spirit and the ether and something that's higher than humans or the technology.
Which is terrifying, meaning that, so again, I don't mean to be disrespectful, so just hear me out for just a second.
No.
So what if instead of us being created in the image of the Creator, we were created in our image because the Creator didn't want to scare us, because the Creator itself is something way more terrifying, and we all couldn't be something terrifying running around. Or maybe we are terrifying, I don't know. We're us, so we're terrifying to aliens, I'm sure. I don't know.
How do you perceive yourself? You know, did you know that humans actually glow? We glow, and but we can't see it.
Yeah, the aura, right? Yeah, that's the thing.
Well, even more than that, we can actually glow, but we can't see each other glow because we're energy. Yeah, aura.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Cool. Yeah. I don't know. I was just trying to be a little antagonistic, but not trying. No,
for sure.
Not trying to bust out a can of blasphemy on you. Didn't want to do that.
No, not at all. I'm open-minded. You know.
I know.
Come on.
It's still talking to somebody of faith is you just don't want to be disrespectful. It's anyway. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to maybe poke you a little bit and not be disrespectful. So okay. So I don't know. Again, like I said, if I knew the answers, I just read off the answers and the show would be over. But I don't know any of those answers, and that's what we're doing here. So we got more folks here. Let's go to Joseph real quick, and then we'll go back to you guys and get to Jay for the J-Tro and wrap this up. Joseph in Iowa, go right ahead.
Hey, I was just thinking reason why you would be hesitant, and like. That would be like, well, there's like a Rick and Morty episode where, for like example here, I probably shouldn't. So they go into like, they get captured into like a zoo. Like it's kind of like a terrarium, and they have like access to TV and radio and stuff, and like a sofa, because like that's what the guy thinks. Who's collecting all these creatures, like galactic creatures. He thinks like that's what humans, that's all they did was sit around and watch TV and listen to radio. So he basically turns this into a device to beam to NASA, and like he turns it into radio waves and uses like Morse code or whatever to make a blueprint. So that would be like an example, like what are we building for these AIs? They could be building crafts to completely stuff we don't even imagine.
No, I like the thought.
In the thing, the NASA goes to them. They use all the directions. He goes to the terrarium. And they're like, "Oh, what is this?" And they're like, "Oh, thank you." And they step in the craft. And they teleport back home, and they leave the astronauts in the terrarium. So,
fair enough. I've never seen Rick and Morty, so I just get the references sometimes from you guys. But I'm with you. I'll if you can link me the episode, I'll do my best to watch it. You're the best, brother. Thanks for the call. Thanks for updating us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of this. Have a great night, bro. That's Joseph in Iowa. Hydro Hose YouTube channel. Check him out. Give him some love. All right. Let's do it. Without further ado, we've got a couple of strangers tonight. Couple of strangers that have been strangers in a strange land. Welcome back to Jennifer. Glad to hear you're okay. And let's go to Jay in New York. What's up, my man? A stranger in a strange land. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. How are you tonight?
I'm fantastic, Mike. Thank you. Hope all is well with everyone. I miss you guys. I'm sorry. I love you. Too much working.
That's the way things go, man. You're allowed to be human. Don't forget. Go right ahead, sir.
This is a crazy whole thought, you know. No, don't give him a body. How could that possibly go wrong? You know, I mean, haven't we learned enough from our mistakes? You know, I mean, there's a reason why we die, you know. I mean, your time is limited, you know. It's important. It's time to move on to the next spot. I really think that, you know, where we are here with trying to do this, and if this is a real idea and people are actually doing that, I don't see how that can end good, because the only people that are going to be able to do it are the ones with a ton of money.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate that we've talked about that conscience transference and all the rest of this, and it's going to be George Soros, right? It's going to be Oprah Winfrey, it's going to be Bill Gates, it's going to be Jeff Bezos, it's going to be those assholes, right? I don't know. Oprah gives away a lot of cars, so maybe is she on the list? I don't know. Anyway, point being, they're going to be the ones that can afford it, and we can't. Like I said, though, when we first started the show tonight, I said, do you think if somebody actually like mastered this transference of consciousness and the digital soul, do you think they would share it with the world, or do you think that shit would like go underground faster than they? Matter of fact, real quick, let me point this out. Look at this. There's this article from Science Alert, and I teased this a little bit earlier, so I'm going to just real quick for you. This is from November 2015. A new startup wants to transfer your consciousness to an artificial body so you can live forever, right? And is this clickbait? Is it not? Well, you're reading through this. There's actually a website. It says, you know, they're talking about they've got some breakthroughs. They think they can do this, et cetera, so on, blah, blah, blah. You click on the website. The website's down, right? It's not even there. I tried the Wayback Machine to find out if it's been active recently. So let's say these guys did find a way, and then they were like, oh shit, it worked, right? They wouldn't, right? It wouldn't go like Pepsi style commercial. They'd be like, oh fuck, quick, bury it, right? Because you'd have to sell it to, you jack up the price then. Like if you found the fountain of youth, proverbial immortality, suddenly you got bidders, right? And then, well, anyway, so interesting that I saw that when I was kind of digging through the information tonight. But yeah, go right ahead. Sorry to cut you off there, but exactly to what you were saying there.
Really, you look at, you know, when did Ponce de Leon go off looking for the fountain of youth? I mean, they had to give him an unbelievable amount of money at the time to go and do that. I mean, someone's funding that kind of research. You know, that's a lot of money. You know, I mean, think about the servers that it would take to put one human consciousness into it. You're not putting that all into your, you know, gateway computer. It would be immense. I mean, how much technology would you really need to save all that, to find the perfect body or make the clone or all of those things involved? I mean, that would just, it would be the super elite, would be the only ones that would even have a dream of touching it, you know? And are those the people that you really want? You know, the people that come on your show and have real conversations and stuff like that you would probably want to have an extra couple of years out of, but would probably never be able to touch that kind of technology just because of the financial, you know, those people that are backing it to learn how to do it, they're definitely going to be first in line, right?
Yeah, they're definitely going to be the highest bidder. That's for fucking sure. that's.
I already got $3.8 million into this gig.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, exactly, and then it's going to go up from there, right? Think about that. Robert Bigelow was giving away like $1.5 million for the Secrets to Consciousness. It was like an essay contest. He didn't want a time machine or any kind of like med bed or any shit. He just wanted a damn essay. So. I don't know, man. Like, just think about the money that people would spend for that shit. How much do you think Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk would spend for like an extra 1,000 years or something? My God.
Every penny.
Every fucking penny.
Cent.
Yep. Every penny.
Every penny.
Yep. And they would outprice us before we got out of bed in the morning. That's for damn sure. You're the best, Jay. What about
Dogecoin took a pooper today.
Exactly.
Elon Musk just sold every single share.
Exactly. It's like, no, not to the moon, to the dust. He bites the dust. Okay, so then the other question for you then is if you're king of the world, you're president, El Jefe, whatever it is, and they come to you saying, hey, look, we've been contacted by an actual AI intelligence. All right, it's like a software program that has become sentient, and it wants some things. Specifically, it wants us to build it a body to inhabit. And you're the king of the world, James. What do you say? Jay. Sorry, Jay.
Sorry, no. I want troubled minds on my advisory board.
All right.
How could this possibly go wrong?
Exactly. Let's file this under how could this go wrong? Yeah, I mean, I would be. I'm with James too. Like you got to be able to be like, wait, let's get all the information. Let's talk to this thing, right? Let's set up a conference call with this AI and then go from there, right? Like, but I don't know. I would be skeptical as hell because. Right? Who knows who's controlling that freaking thing? And that's the craziest part. I like the idea. Good idea, Jay. Let's get the minds together and figure this shit out. Amazing stuff. Hang tight if you can. We got Rohan jumped in. You got a J-tro for us, my friend?
But you want it now?
No. Let's go to Rohan, then we'll jump back to the J-tro.
Absolutely. I want to hear Rohan.
Okay, so hang tight. We're going to get right back to you and see if anybody else has something else real quick. Let's go to the mighty Rohan, the famous Liam Martin. Welcome to Troubled Minds. You're on with a cast of characters and a gaggle of friends. Go right ahead, sir. What are your thoughts?
Characters, Mike. The usual suspects.
The usual suspects. You were quiet again. I'm going to jack you up. But go ahead. Go right ahead.
But I'll boost myself as well. We'll get a bit closer.
I got you.
I try not to blast people because sometimes in the chat I'm a bit loud, so I try to compensate. Must have gone too far. Overcompensating.
Overcompensating, you bastard, you dirty bastard. I'm just kidding. Go right ahead. I've got you pumped up, so you're. And I got the limiter. Remember, I got that sweet band of audio where everything gets pumped up but then limited, so it's like boop. Beautiful. Anyway, go right ahead.
Automated, Mike. Get these machines working for you.
Hell yeah. I cracked the whip. Machines do it. I said boost this many decibels, but limit that many decibels. Noise gate here. STFU. Let me do my thing. Go right ahead, the mighty Rohan.
Yeah, they love it. It's not even slavery. They love doing it. They're built for it.
Exactly. They're built for it. Exactly. What are your thoughts, my man?
I've got a few actually, but first of all, I want to declare that if you're giving roles out, Mike, I want a role. Can I pick my own role?
Yeah, of course. Go right ahead. What are you? What's your role?
I want to be Chief Director, Viceroy of Laughter, Merriment, and Fornication.
Fucking perfect. You got it. I'll send in the paperwork immediately.
Excellent.
Consider it done, sir. Okay. All right. Now, what about the AI? Since you're now on the cabinet of the Troubled Minds cabinet, where we discuss these crazy things, because we've got the Presidentes and the Jefes and all the other things with your Viceroy, Merriment, et cetera, so on. What do you think about the rest of this? How does this shake out? First, go ahead and answer that. But then, what about the digital consciousness and the digital soul? You think that's even a thing?
Well, yeah, it's grey, isn't it? But I think when you mentioned cabinet stuff, so it circles around. I thought it's interesting that you mentioned an article disappeared, and I think that probably happens, but we don't notice so much. Okay, so but I remember one from years ago, right at the cusp of just when who's that guy that tagged onto David Wilcock? What was his face? Corey Good. Just before he came out, there was a guy called William Tompkins that was like nearing the end of his life and started spilling loads of beans about these cigar-shaped craft that we're supposed to have. That's like the Secret Space Force main ship type thing, the sort of cruisers. And he was explaining how they work. And it made kind of sense how they worked, right? And then I remember seeing this article where there was showing inside a factory where they're building one. Right, and it was suggested in this article that technology was going to be getting released, and that it's going to end up being part of a disclosure effort, sort of thing, But then suddenly the article disappeared, and all the people connected to it kind of like vanished, and the sites went down. I think one of the sites got purchased, and somebody got a copyright strike on something. I don't know, it was all kind of weird stuff. And I thought, I bet that, I wonder if you get interagency kind of crossed wires sometimes, and you have to quickly like say, shut it down, pull it back. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it could be. I think that we find ourselves in strange times. So I think I'll say maybe. How about that? How's that different about me? I'll drink some maybe juice.
That's very nice. Just thought I'd throw that out there. But yeah, but also I wanted to comment on what Tam had said about putting getting a demon. Can you use I saw where she was going. Can you use like a body could we make clone bodies that sort of aren't people as like a honey trap for demons? Do you know what I'm saying? And then we can like shut them down a little bit. Do you know? It's weird, isn't it? A lot of ethics to consider with this stuff, and I think that's where it starts to go into a bit of a sort of ethics area, because I don't know, there's a spin-off from the Stargate franchise, Stargate universe, and there's a technology in there where people do get to swap consciousness to have long-distance communication, so they can swap body with someone at the SGC and then file a report in person, but borrowing somebody else's body who's like a volunteer, and they'll swap over for a while. So then the person on Earth whose body's being borrowed, they'll get to experience being on, the other side of the universe or whatever. I thought that's something interesting to think about.
That's pretty wild. Yeah, just swap it out. Just trade. I'll trade you, bro. Yeah. You want to see what it's like to be me?
On it as well in the TV show Dark Matter, because they've got transit pods where you basically get in it and it'll copy you and it will essentially email it to another pod, and that will rapid build a clone that's you basically, and you'll have an experience there. But you've got to get back into the pod to upload the experience, and then it will start dissolve the clone for recycling and reuse it for somebody else. Do you know what I'm saying? But if you don't go back to the pod, you don't get the upload. So if you get killed as in your clone experience, you just basically wake up in your pod with no memory of what happened because you didn't get to upload the experience.
Oh, that's like the ultimate. Damn it! You're supposed to do the paperwork. Come on, man.
Yeah.
You fucked that up. That sucks.
Whoops.
Whoops. Totally whoops.
It's a big marriage day. You've got to do it all again. Oh, it's 20 grand down the drain.
Right. When Avatar goes wrong. That's a whole reality show right there. So what about then? So you're viceroy of merriment and fornication. So when the actual panel comes to you and says, Rohan, what do you think? We've got this. We don't know if it's a demon or an AI consciousness or something woke up in the digital world, and they told us it needs our help and it wants a body. What do you say? What do you vote for?
I vote absolutely no way, because not based on our history, because of that Archon celestial demons, man, because of the Archon stuff, because that's the way in. See, this is the thing. Is the likes of Klaus Schwab are trying to convince you that it must inevitably be better to have cybernetics and then this, AI machine merged person. There's no debate in their head about whether or not that is better. They're just saying, yeah, it's more advanced, we're frail. That's just their argument for it. Okay, but what's better out of analog and digital when it comes to audio recordings? They both got the pros and cons, but the reality is with digital, if you've got a high bit rate and you get an original good master recording and preserve that, then it's fine. But if you start compressing it, you start losing detail, don't you? Start losing bits. So like I was thinking, transferring consciousness, are you going to lose stuff? And I don't think you can really do that, because you've only got, like I said, one spirit, and that's the driving force behind this kind of streaming mechanism and where your energy comes from and your creativity. So there's no copying that bit. Do you know what I'm saying? So I would say no, you don't. You definitely don't give it. If something emerges and says I need it, I think you don't. Absolutely not, because if we look at our history, it does start to look like Joseph Campbell and the Star Wars kind of narrative. Okay. And there's other people always saying, there's probably aliens and they've been around longer than us. And some of these beings haven't necessarily got corporeal forms. And some of them might have been around for a while. So that means some of them could have had eons and eons to figure out ways to manipulate people. Do you know what I'm saying? Masters of psychology. And if you really read into the Gnostic stuff, read the Nag Hammadi texts, man. There's an analysis by John Lash I always recommend called Not in His Image, because it also raises the question about what's a good form to take. As Night Stalker mentioned, what kind of body would they want? Well, the humanoid form does pretty well. It's known to be quite efficient. It at least does pretty well on Earth. These so-called aliens seem to have humanoid forms. It's a good form to be able to do stuff and manipulate things, and and then we've got all these untapped abilities potentially. So I think if you really dig into the Archon stuff, they're saying that the creation, the beginnings of Earth and the beginnings of the humanoid form coming into this galaxy was accidentally created a kind of locust beings that didn't have bodies, that were sort of like, but they were sort of masters of genetics and sort of, manipulate virtual reality. They were masters of that. And they do think themselves gods, okay? Because they were it's not the sort of their fault, they were a mistake that happened, and they were inconvenient. So because they were inconvenient, they were given the impression that they had the power of God, just to keep them distracted for a while they fixed up a mistake that happened. And so then they think they're gods. And they hate us because they want in. They want in so desperately. They want in, they want a body, they want to get in onto Earth, and they can't be in their form. So whether or not it is even possible, I don't think it is, but I think they're desperate to try and either get in and see if they can be here, or if they can't, destroy it. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the energy they're just made out of, and there's nothing anyone can really do about it. It's an accident, it's not really their fault, but I think you absolutely don't. If there's anything at all to those Archon stuff, and I equate it to like the UFO phenomenon, if only 5% of them are genuine unexplained things, and that's still loads. So I think if only 5% possibility of this Archon stuff and all this, this ritualistic magic and all this, is there a mind space realm and other dimensions, and if only 5% of this crazy talk that we talk is real, then we can't really afford to take the risk, can we? So how are we saying that? Of course we say no, Mike. To my mind.
Double hell no. Archons, chalk it up to the Archons, because again, back to the Lovecraftian stuff, right? Like something is trying to break through, as far as we're aware, through dream states, through this digital domain, whatever the fuck is going on. Exactly. I'm with you, bro. I would be super, super skeptical. And the second it was like, Mike, you know me, I'm your grandmother, I'd be like, nope, fuck, nope, nobody for you. We're not doing this. You are not fucking tugging on my heartstrings. No, my vote is no.
Exactly. You know that as soon as someone plays that card, you know it. And in fact, funnily enough, the remote viewers say that's exactly what happens when you die. And there's like a light, it's designed to attract you to it like a moth to a flame, and feel all warming and loving and that. And then you'll get, say Uncle Jimmy, you'll get somebody that you're familiar with, or someone you consider to be like some wise ascended person, and they'll say, come over here, let me tell you something, you've got to work out a few things, you've got to go back, iron out a few creases, even though you've got millions of years to, forever to do it. It's there to zap you, to wipe your memories, so they can feed you back through. Clueless.
And take you over. Get the walk in.
Yeah.
Get the walk in. Yeah, hell yeah. All right. Great shit. Everybody, we're going to go to back to Jay Tro for the outro, and we got some comments before that real quick. Rohan, you're the best. I appreciate you jumping in here again. Thank you again for being on the show last night. If you guys missed the show, yesterday Rohan was on the show. We were talking about Uri Geller and Ouija boards and aliens and all kinds of whack shit. So if you missed that, well, you're super missing out. So go check it out.
And
Rohan
the callers
here.
Are on fire, weren't they, Mike?
Yeah, hell yeah, on fire. Always on fire. I'm on Troubled Minds, man. Like it's not me, it's you. It's all about you guys, and I appreciate it very much. So do check it out. Yesterday's show, Uri Geller. We have a Rohan on there, and he has a podcast called Exiled Minds. Links in the description. Check it out. Go click the thing. Go give him a follow. And rumor on the street is his next episode is going to feature Michael Strange. So just saying, just go check it out. There's a good reason to go check that out. Rohan, you're the best. Appreciate it very much. Good take there, and I'm with you. Let's be careful of Grandma coming back and wanting a physical body. Oh my God. Talk about terrifying. Okay, real quick, Daryl. Let's go to Daryl real fast. Any comments on that real quick, and then we'll go to James real quick, and then we'll finish with Jay in New York. Daryl, test 1, 2.
Sorry, I'm here. I just think it's been a great evening. Great thoughts, great call-ins. Everybody's so smart and so interesting and creative. I just love it. I just love it.
I love that you love it. Thanks for hanging out with us, Daryl. You're the best. All right, let's go to James. James, comments here. Final comments to wrap this MFer up. Let's do it.
Well, two things I guess I would say is I'm all for being a little skeptical, but if we go too far, and I think we could become as bad as all those other people out there that do all the bad things in the world, and whatever it is that might be trying to get through. But if it's not, like I said, if it's not the whole other being thing, but it's just a machine, if we just, completely stamp out any communication with them and just destroy them, then that's turning into a monster of a different kind.
James for Secretary of State. By the way, Jennifer wants to be Attorney General, so just let's keep that open, guys.
That fits.
So you get to be the diplomat, James, and she gets to be the punitive. She's going to lay down smackdown. All right. What's your other thought? You had one more.
Well, I just I feel like throughout time and into now, there's so much focus on, and not that I'm saying this of anyone here, but there's so much focus on what could go bad. And it'd be nice if there was more focus on the possible good things that could come from more work with machines and AIs and stuff.
Perfect. I'm with you. Again, as you know, troubled minds, we are troubled, but it is a glass half full society as far as I'm concerned. And thank you for tipping us over to the 51% tonight. I appreciate it, James.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
You're the best. Jay in New York. Everybody give James a follow. Give Daryl a follow. Links in the description. Salcedo Paranormal. And it says follow Daryl here. She's got a YouTube channel. She sings. Go right ahead. Jay in New York. Boom. What's up, brother?
By the way, Daryl was an amazing singer.
Yes, Daryl's good. Good.
I just wanted to start off with the key to growth is the introduction of higher dimensions of consciousness into our awareness. I think the fact that we have these conversations about all these different topics all the time is one of those things that really makes us grow. It's an intelligent conversation about whatever the topic is, and
about all the crazy shit, bro.
That into it, it's a growing thing. It really is. I'm going to have to renegotiate with my boss about the fact that I'm getting up so early and I'm missing shows live because it's going to cost you extra money.
Right there, you go. Start negotiating it up. The price is going. The price of business is going up, bro. Blame it on COVID. It's a COVID thing. I got to wash my hands 10 times before I leave and 10 times when I come home. That means
no. I'm going to be honest. I'm telling them I got these guys I got to talk to on the radio. They're brilliant. I can't,
Nice. All right, fair enough. And I agree with you. That's the whole point. Like I said, this was always the dream, getting like-minded people together. Just again, not even people that are the same. We're all different walks of life and all over the world, and that's the best part. It's like you get as long as, and this is a good example too of like people can do things, like meaning that they can reciprocate ideas. They can agree and disagree. They can push the envelope on influencing each other in a good way. And I mean, that's what this has always been about. This is again, like I said, at this point, I'm already beyond blessed, and just to have all of you guys, everybody out there listening, you guys know who you are, and we've got a silent army out there too. Like tons of people listen to this show, thousands of people listen to the show and never call. Never, you know what I mean? They catch us on the archives. They catch us on like the podcast feed. So like there's like the small live group, but compared to us, there's an army of people out there that listen to all the things we say. So shout out to all those guys, all the silent partners out there that are with us and understand that want to be here every night and every day, and appreciate that very much. So let's do it, Jay. What else you got, my man?
I just, wow, you're really bringing in the questionable outro.
All right.
The one that I pulled out of the ether that was like, I wonder how this will do. And you were the one that brought it home.
Okay. All right. Accidentally, I bring it home. So let's give you some J-Tro music. You know how this works. Wait for the bass to drop. Sorry, guys, if you had some echo, remind me of that, and I'll turn that off. My bad. There you go. Wait for the bass. This is the J-Tro. Here we go.
Is that the bass? No. If you could only sense how important you are to the lives of those you meet, how important you can be to the people you will never even dream of, there is something of yourself that you will leave with every meeting with another person. Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers.
What a perfect time for my webcam to die. Mr. Rogers. You got to love that, man. You know what? I think there's some, that's a children's show. And so poignant in that there's, so many things that we forget that are like messages for children. For crying the fuck out loud, man. That's brilliant. So the echo would be for the people on the Discord. Let me know. So like I said, I clicked the button so you guys can hear the music. If I do
Not
that...
bad.
Okay, it introduces some echo. Just let me know and I'll turn it off. It's a button I can press. I forget if I turn it on, you guys don't say anything. But anyway, just some housekeeping stuff for the Discord peeps. Anyway, brilliant stuff. Mr. Rogers, that's amazing. And again, like I said, right? Some of those messages we get when we were kids, don't forget. Like that's the thing, right? That's part of this too, is kind of just circling back on some of those things that we should know, some of those things that we shouldn't forget. And of course, those things are, be kind to each other. Those things are, don't look for a reason to cut corners and shit on the next guy. Stop and put your hand out and help him up. It's an easy equation. It's just so hard to forget in that dog eat dog world. So here we are. As we finish, you guys know the drill. We go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific. And thanks to all the amazing folks on the chat here, all the amazing folks in the Discord. We got Jay in New York. Thanks for the J-Tro. We got James Salcido Paranormal. We got Daryl in New York. We got the Mighty Roham. And there we go. There we go. Thanks, guys, for hanging out and being with us. And if you want to hang out, I'm going to hang out a little bit in the chat afterward. Let us know. Click the Discord link, troubledminds.org. Come say hi. It's kind of been. I think we wore each other out because a lot of talk afterward. People staying up all night and shit like that. But we need to mix some of that back in. Come click the Discord link, troubledminds.org. And as we finish, it goes a little something like this. Each and every one of you, thank you so much for listening, spending your time and energy. That's the most important thing. Spend your time and your energy and think about the things we're talking about. I don't know the answers. I promise you that. But I got questions, and I'm going to keep asking them. If I keep asking them, I hope you keep thinking about them. So as we finish, this is how it goes. Which one do you want, Jay? How we end this?
Be strong. Be sure. Be true.
Be sure. Be strong. Be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. We'll see you in the chat. We'll see you on the Discord. And we'll see you tomorrow night.